Radio Biafra International, empowering the people.
Radio Biafra is proud to launch its new mobile app. This app makes it easier for listeners to access live and repeat broadcasts at any given time. The app is available on Android and Apple stores and is free to install, so just search for Radio Biafra into all one word to get the app on your device.
Radio Biafra International broadcasts are always anchored on well-researched information and not based on personalities, frivolities, and foul languages. The main objective of Radio Biafra International is to empower Biafrans and give them knowledge through professionally delivered information, education, and enlightenment towards the ultimate goal of restoration of the nation of Biafra.
So don't forget, Radio Biafra into all one word.
And join us during our podcasts, and you'll be glad you did.
Stop spending time with the wrong people. Life is too short to spend time with people who suck the happiness out of you. If someone wants you in their life, they'll make room for you. You shouldn't have to fight for a spot. Never ever insist yourself to someone who continuously overlooks your worth. And remember, it's not the people that stand by your side when you're at your best, but the ones who stand beside you when you're at your worst that are your true friends. Stop trying to be someone you're not. One of the greatest challenges in life is being yourself in a world that's trying to make you like everyone else. Someone will always be prettier. Someone will always be smarter. Someone will always be younger. But they will never be you. Don't change so people will like you. Be yourself, and the right people will love the real you. Stop trying to hold on to the past. You cannot start the next chapter of your life if you keep rereading the last one. Stop being scared to make a mistake. Doing something and getting it wrong is at least 10 times more productive than doing nothing. Every success has a trail of failures behind it, and every failure is leading towards success. You end up regretting the things you did not do far more than the things you did. Stop getting involved in relationships for the wrong reasons. Relationships must be chosen wisely. It is better to be alone than to be in bad company. There's no need to rush. If something is meant to be, it will happen at the right time, with the right person, and for the best reason. Stop rejecting new relationships just because old ones didn't work. In life, you'll realize that there's a purpose for everyone you meet. Some will test you, some will use you, and some will teach you. But most importantly, some will bring out the best in you. Stop trying to compensate against things that are not there. And stop trying to compete against everyone else. Don't worry about what others are doing better than you. Concentrate on beating your own records every day. Success is a battle between you and yourself only. I just have to repeat this. This warrants a repeat. Stop trying to compete against everyone else. Don't worry about what others are doing better than you. Concentrate on beating your own records every day. Success is a battle between you and yourself only. Life is too short to spend time with people who suck the happiness out of you. If someone wants you in their life, they'll make room for you. You shouldn't have to fight for a spot. Never, ever insist yourself to someone who continuously overlooks your worth. And remember, it's not the people that stand by your side when you're at your best, but the ones who stand beside you when you're at your worst that are your true friends.
Jamasa 2020. I think champion of Bakola went on the road before you became with you. Because when you stay safe, we must have coronavirus money from one. Someone is here about a little now. What can you just say? I want to know before you became with you.
Radio Biafra International, empowering the people.
Fellow Biafrans and listeners all over the world, this is Radio Biafra International, brought to you by the Biafra Restoration Movement. Today is the 19th of September 2020, and it's a Saturday. So we greet you wherever you are, all across the world, from sunset to sundown. Like I said, this is Radio Biafra International, brought to you by the Biafra Restoration Movement. Please, it is very important
that our name be known so that our deeds can be tied to our names. So we can be responsible for our speech and our actions. You can get us through different platforms such as internet, Facebook, YouTube, RBI app, TuneIn app. We are in satellite. And you can simply Google Radio Biafra International to be able to get the list of information, including the numbers from which you can call the station. They are available on the internet. Only Google Radio Biafra International. As we usually do, before we start any broadcast, we will say a prayer or two. We are Israel, we are Israelites, and we have a God, the creator of heaven and earth, whom we worship, the beginning and the end. He is the one we worship and listen to. He's the one we obey. He's the one we are committed to keeping his covenant with us as a people. And all those who choose to join that covenant are blessed, as we know that Christendom has been able to join that covenant significantly through Yeshua HaMashiach, that is our Lord Jesus Christ. But we as Israelites are joined at the hip with that covenant. First with Israel, with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then with Yeshua HaMashiach, that is Jesus Christ, the anointed one. Let us pray. Praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, because he has come and has redeemed his people. He has raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. As he said through his holy prophets of long ago, salvation from our enemies and from the hand of all who hate us, to show mercy to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant, the oath he swore to our father Abraham, to rescue us from the hand of our enemies, and to enable us to serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all our days. Through the forgiveness of our sins, because of the tender mercy of our God, by which the rising sun will come to us from heaven, to shine on those living in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the path of peace. Amen. This was read from Zechariah, Luke, chapter 1, verse 68 to 79. This is the prayer of Zechariah, the priest, filled with the Holy Spirit, and the arrival of our Lord and Savior. My name is Odi Moalu, so I'm your broadcast anchor today again, and we will be also having with us our usual guests, panelists, who comes to help us with understanding the issues of the day. As we've always reiterated, we inform, we educate, we persuade. So we enjoin you to listen to us in today's broadcast, which we shall deliver actually in very quick succession. Today we will look at the justification for the for Biafra's restoration, the justification for the restoration of the sovereign state of Biafra by Douglas Anele. The last broadcast, it's a 5-part article, and we were able to bring three of them to you, to read out three of them to you. Today we will complete the remaining two. And we have also to look into Tuko Buratai's threats to declare the state of emergency in Southeast and the condemnation by Ohanes and Igbo. And we will also, there's a press statement which we shall be able to communicate with the rest of you from the BRM. And then we will also, if we have the time, though this is very, very important, look into the relationship of the Igbo and their neighbors, the origin of a lot of our neighbors whom, due to colonial forces and Nigerian forces, seems to be separated from the Igbo, their own people. We will go to the broadcasts of Douglas Anele's 5-part article from the fourth one, Justification for Resuscitation of the Sovereign State of Biafra. And this was written on Monday, August 31st, 2020. Consequent upon unwanted widespread hatred, especially across northern Nigeria, the Igbo have been the worst victims of all the riots, pogroms, and bloody religious uprisings there, beginning with the Jos and Kanu massacres of 1945 and 1953, respectively, the Maitasina riots of 1981, the beheading of Gideon Akaluka, in Kaduna riots of 2000, Miss World riots of 2002, the Yelwa massacre of 2004, the cartoon of Prophet Muhammad, and the violence of 2008, post-elections mayhem, 2011, killing of IPOB members in several places from late 2015 to till date. We're not to mention the killing of MASOB members under Olusegun Obasanjo, the murderous Operation Python Dance, 2017-2019, and so on. But without a doubt, the greatest evil the rest of Nigeria had visited on Ondigbo and her immediate neighbors that constituted the defunct Biafra occurred during the Civil War and few years afterwards. Although, to his credit, General Yakubu Gowon resisted calls by people like Colonel Joe Garba for heavy reprisals against the Igbo when the war ended. As head of state, he still bears ultimate responsibility for the death of over 3 million Biafrans, the mindless destruction of Igbo heartland and adjoining areas, Operation Starvation, 20 pounds policy for every account held by a Biafran in banks, the indigenization decree of 1972, which mutated 2 years later into the Enterprises Promotion Decree, and the abandoned property program, in which properties owned by Igbo outside Igbo land were confiscated by government and indigenes of the places where the properties were located. Of course, the punitive post-war measures taken by Gowon were intended to asphyxiate or even obliterate the economy of the defeated Biafra. In my opinion, Igbo have sacrificed too much and paid a hefty price with their blood and possessions for the maintenance of one Nigeria, far more than all the ethnic groups in the country combined. That is an undeniable fact, deliberately ignored by not only the British in conjunction with the ruling Fulani internal colonists, but also by their lackeys from ethnic nationalities outside Igbo land. Successive military governments dominated by Northerners ensured that of the three major ethnic groups in Igbo were the least represented in the most powerful positions within the military and other institutions of governance at the federal level. Again, Southeast, the core Igbo-speaking geopolitical zone, has the least number of states and local government areas compared to the Hausa Fulani, the Yoruba, which means that the zone lowest quantum of federal allocation and legislative seats vis-a-vis the others affects them adversely. Federal presence in terms of heavy industries and good roads is abysmally low, and there is no functional seaport and international airport in the Southeast. From the panoramic viewpoint of an objective observer, the status of Igbo land in Nigeria is worse now than it was before the revenge coup of July 29, 1966. The current stage in hefty sacrifice by Igbo for one Niger area is the hands of Fulani herdsmen, is in the hands of Fulani herdsmen and other Islamist groups operating across West Africa. Terrorist organizations whose members have moved in large numbers from the north into southern Nigeria, enabled by the visa-free policy of the federal government. Perhaps the policy is a covert colonization project whose remote foundation was laid by the 19th century jihads, since there is no good reason why Nigeria should allow thousands of mostly illiterate and unskilled Fulani from different parts of West Africa to come into Nigeria and set up settlements in forests across the south. In fact, as I write this essay, some of these migrants, mostly young men of fighting age, are committing atrocities against defenseless indigents, while law enforcement agencies dominated by Northerners seem incapable of dealing with the culprits, or as some claim, are complicit in their criminality. Now, considering all that have been stated thus far, certain questions naturally rear up. What have Igbo people in general benefited as Nigerians, considering their unmatched contributions to the British colonial amalgam to make them still want to be part of the country? Is the quest for Biafra an appropriate response to the fact that Igbo and their immediate neighbors in the former eastern region have been treated as second-class citizens, especially since 1970? Why is it that despite deep-seated resentment across the country towards Igbo people, the northern ruling power bloc has consistently refused to allow them create an independent nation for themselves? To answer the first question, no matter the half-truths and outright falsehood peddled by revisionist tribalists, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe is the foremost Nigerian nationalist of the 20th century because, inter alia, he was the lodestar that guided the trajectory of militant nationalism of the late 1930s, which jolted Britain from her colonialists' slumber and accelerated the attainment of independence. But he was denied the premiership mainly as a result of the devious machinations of Sir James Robertson in favor of Tafawa Balewa, whose party espoused a nativist northern political agenda. At any rate, whatever benefits Igbo got as Nigerians were overwhelmingly the result of individual efforts of the people themselves, not the outcome of favorable federal policies, which have consistently favored the Hausa Fulani and to a lesser extent the Yoruba. Paul Anba confirms this in his paper entitled Modernization and Political Disintegration, Nigeria and the Igbo, with the following propositions, quote, with unparalleled rapidity, the Igbo advanced fastest, in the shortest possible period of time of all Nigeria's ethnic groups. Like the Jews, to whom they have frequently been likened, they progressed despite being treated like a minority in the country, filling the ranks of the nation's educated, prosperous upper classes, unquote. But instead of other ethnic groups appreciating the contributions of Igbo people towards the making of modern Nigeria and adopting their industriousness and quest for success as an incentive or stimulus for healthy competition that drives the renaissance of learning and achievement, these very positive attributes became a basis for hating them. Disgruntled, uninformed Igbo haters falsely blaming the Igbo for going to war against Nigeria, whereas it was going under tremendous pressure from some people led by Lieutenant Colonel Murtala Mohammed that attacked Biafra first. But before then, the senseless massacre of Ndibo, which reached genocidal proportions towards the end of May 1966, and the humanitarian crisis it generated, would have convinced any honest observer of the unfolding scenario that Nigeria was no longer habitable for Ndibo and other peoples from the eastern region. In my opinion, the situation has not changed much in the last 50 years. The misguided effort by Fulani Caliphate colonialists and their British puppeteers to balkanize and weaken the Igbo was intensified by Gowon when he divided the eastern region into 3 states to frustrate Biafra. It continued through the Maman Nasser Boundary Commission set up in January 1976 by General Murtala Mohammed. An essential plank of this strategy was ceding portions of Igbo land, especially several oil-bearing communities, to states comprising both Igbo-speaking and non-Igbo-speaking peoples in Old Rivers, Cross River, and Bendel states. Indeed, Emefiele Ezani, in his well-researched book cited earlier, documented what he called the de-Ibonization policy of different Nigerian governments headed by Northerners. De-Ibonization policy. We are going to talk about this later on, if not today, the next broadcast, and it's very, very important. I move on. In retrospect, from the colonial period to the present time, different sets of essentially administrative boundaries have been imposed on the Igbo land, none of which has ever really represented fully the extent of authentic Igbo settlements across Nigeria. Disorganizing and fragmenting the Igbo through de-Ibonization has been quite successful, especially in the ridiculous, meaningless renaming of Ugwocha as Port Harcourt, Obibo as Oyibo, Igbakere as Ibanke, and adding an R to the original names of several places in River State to hide their Igbo-ness. Now, in the fifth part, the 5th section of the 5-part article, published Monday, September the 6th, 2020, goes, even uninformed, misguided indigents of communities located in Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Benue, Cross River, Delta, Edo, and Kogi states that, in fact, speak different dialects of Igbo language or have strong historical and socio-cultural affinities with Igbo land, disavow their Igbo connections as well. Emefiele explains this regrettable attitude as follows. Quote, the defeat of Biafra had an enormous psychological impact on some people, defeat disorder, that pushed them to take some extreme measures. One has therefore to appreciate and understand some people's need for survival that resulted in identity denial. That such phenomena of denial persists many years after the war seems to suggest that it has become ingrained in their minds. Unquote. If a referendum or plebiscite is conducted today, asking Ndibo and the immediate neighbors to answer the question, do you want an independent sovereign state? Majority will likely answer yes. I have presented reasons why that should be the case. Millions of people from the defunct eastern region are tired of being part of Nigeria because, among other things, the dominant ruling clique from the north, a region that contributes less than 20% of the country's income, determines how resources and most powerful official positions at the center are distributed among the federating units. Specifically, Biafran agitators want the former eastern region to be independent so that the people themselves would control their resources for optimum development. They believe correctly Nigeria, as presently structured and governed, is suffocating everybody. An increasing number of Igbo people across Nigeria and abroad are keen to build a great nation where their innate creativity and single-minded determination for success could flourish without the usual obstacles from Fulani Caliphate colonialists and their British remote controllers. The impressive scientific and technological achievements of defunct Biafra, in spite of extremely challenging war situation, is a pointer to what an independent Biafra nation would have accomplished had Gowon and his hawkish foreign collaborators allowed her to become a reality. Of course, the refusal of Gowon and his immediate successors to support Biafran scientists and engineers after the war through the Project Development Institute, PRODA, at the Enugu, and the tragic case of late Dr. Ezekiel Izuogu, who was the first person to design a fully made in Nigeria car, prove beyond reasonable doubt that Northern Caliphate colonialists would, rather than Nigeria remain in the morass of underdevelopment, than allow Ndibo transform her into the Japan of Africa. In other words, exaggerated fear and hatred of the Igbo caused Nigeria's northern rulers to miss an excellent opportunity to launch the country into the orbit of scientific and technological advancement. By harnessing the creative ingenuity of Biafra, on the refusal of Fulani ruling cabal and new colonialist Britain to allow Biafra emerge, the reasons are not far to seek. As I stated at the very beginning of this series, Britain's primary motivation for creating Nigeria is to exploit the country economically and save for British Treasury the cost of administering Northern Protectorate. Also, the North would have been economically impoverished without resources from the South. Judging from the wanton destruction of Biafra land by Nigerian soldiers and the imperialists' foreign backers during the Civil War, the born-to-rule mentality of the Northern establishment, and ongoing Fulani expansionism into Southern Nigeria, it is clear that Caliphate colonialists are prepared to kill and destroy in order to retain control of the lucrative petroleum deposits domiciled mostly in Biafra. To satisfy their insatiable lust for primitive accumulation using suffering Almajiris or Talakawas as foot soldiers. Extremely wealthy members of the Northern military civilian elite owe their riches directly or indirectly to lucrative crude oil and natural gas businesses. Federal government contracts and concessions, together with other financially rewarding activities in selected cities across the South. That is why they deploy every means necessary to stop the resuscitation of Biafra. For them, Biafra's emergence would be like removing a breast milk filled feeding bottle from the mouth of a baby. Again, given the divide, conquer, and rule Takiya attitude imbibed from Islamic scriptures, the Fulani will not rest until the whole of Nigeria becomes an Islamic state. Meanwhile, the British establishment, blinded right from the beginning by opportunistic economic considerations, played a major role in what was essentially a jihad against Eastern Nigeria from 1967 to 1970, due to unease about allowing a potentially rich and powerful country, Biafra, to emerge from Africa. A progressive black nation that will blow white supremacist narratives to smithereens. That was why, as the Cold War raged between the West and leading communist countries, Britain worked together with a strange ally, Soviet Union, to provide military and logistic support for Nigeria, widely acknowledged as the aggressor in the conflict. Old bad habits, like old soldiers, die hard. Britain still supports one Nigeria, notwithstanding that Nigeria's history under Northern political domination has largely been a heart-wrenching chronicle of false starts, missed opportunities, bloodshed, and egregious leadership failure interspersed with very brief moments of haphazard development. Thus, it is not surprising that Britain operates a double standard on the issue of Biafra. The same confederal Britain that opposes Biafra allowed Scottish independence referendum and opted out of the European Union, EU. Moreover, the current British leadership, like others before it, are afraid that an independent Biafra would lead to the loss of multi-billion pounds oil and gas businesses by British multinational companies in Nigeria. But such fear is unwarranted. Britain stands to gain from a well-grown Biafra more than whatever she's getting right now from the fractious, corruption-infested contraption called Nigeria. It is regrettable that the British leadership continues to ignore the looming existential danger posed to the peoples of former Eastern region by Muslim Fulani expansionist program, which gathered momentum since Muhammadu Buhari became president in 2015. In my view, it is one of the sad ironies of history that Britain, the country that produced some of the best theoreticians of liberal democracy and political freedom, such as John Locke, J.S. Mill, Bertrand Russell, and Karl Popper, always joins forces with ultra-conservative Fulani Caliphate colonialists to suppress the legitimate quest of Igbo for political autarky. Accordingly, Britain lacks the moral authority to champion democracy and human rights worldwide, which implies that Boris Johnson, Tony Blair, and the rest should stop grandstanding whenever these issues rear up at the international stage. Let us now pluck the right low-hanging fruit from our analysis. From the outset, one Nigeria is not sacrosanct, given that it was created by Lord Lugard principally to bolster the economic interests of Britain and the North. Consequently, Nigeria was not built on a solid psychological and moral foundation. The quest for resuscitating Biafra is legitimate due to decades of exclusion, hate, and violence visited on Igbo, especially by Northerners and successive Northern-dominated federal governments. Although over the years, avaricious, selfish, and myopic members of Igbo political and business elite have connived with caliphate colonialists to marginalize their own people and Igbo land, generally because of crumbs they are eating from their Fulani master's table, nothing justifies the level of oppression Igbo have suffered, considering their unsurpassed contributions to the political and economic development of Nigeria. The Igbo and their immediate neighbors would be far better off in an independent Biafran nation, where the incredible resources and creativity of the people would be harnessed to build a great nation that would be the pride of Black people all over the world. But make no mistake about it, even if Biafra reemerges today, building her into a great country will require tremendous hard work, self-sacrifice, and extraordinary ingenuity for several years. Fortunately, the brief incandescence of old Biafra is a source of inspiration that the Biafra miracle can be replicated again. Resuscitation of Biafra is an idea whose time has come. Those against it now should realize that Biafra could still become a reality sometime in future because, as Chief Obafemi Awolowo boldly proclaimed in his work, Path to Nigeria Freedom, it is not in the nature of man to put up with subjection for long. And this ends the 5-part article of Justification for Resuscitating the Sovereign State of Biafra by Douglas Anele. We go to the news of today, and we say the state of emergency threat, go and face Boko Haram, Mohanese tells Buratai. This was actually not today, but Monday, September the 14th, 2020. They cautions COAS, as Chief of Army Staff, over abuse of Nigeria's constitutional powers, as Mwabeze and group fixes October 1 for summit on Nigeria's constitutional future. And it goes, Pan Igbo Socio-Political Association, Hanez and Igbo, yesterday knocked the nation's Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Toko Buratai, over his threats to declare state of emergency in the southeast. General Buratai had on Wednesday threatened to declare state of emergency in any southeast state where security officers are attacked. The threat came on the heels of protests and criticism that trailed the recent killing of unarmed members of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, by security agents. This is just as the Pro-National Conference Organization, PRONACO, a pan-Nigerian movement led by Professor Ben Nwabeze, has said that it has fixed Nigeria's Independence Day, October 1, for a summit between the north and southern parts of the country to deliberate on the nation's constitutional future. It posits that for Nigeria to mend its fences and remain as a united entity, there must be a consultative forum where the North and South must sit to agree on its constitutional future. The group disclosed that it has therefore fixed Nigeria's Independence Day, October 1, for a summit between the North and Southern parts of the country to deliberate on the nation's constitutional future. Reacting to the threat, Ohaneze Digbo, in a statement issued Wednesday by its acting National Secretary, Prince Ucheachi Okpaga, warned the Chief of Army Staff and the Nigerian military to desist from further threats to the southeast, noting that General Buratai lacks such powers to issue a political threat on the zone. The attention of Ohaneze Digbo worldwide has been drawn to a statement credited to the Chief of Army Staff, General Tuko Buratai, threatening to impose a state of emergency in the southeast if governors of the states allowed any further attack on security forces in the states. A statement he has not denied. While Ohaneze Digbo decried violence in any form in the states, it takes particular exception to an open threat and warning to Southeast governors who, by their country's constitution, are chief security officers of their states, but are lame ducks in practice, as all security commands come from Abuja. Ohaneze Digbo, which described the threat as particularly provocative, regretted that General Buratai and his security agencies have overlooked the ongoing killing spree in North Central, Northwest, and Northeast, which have become theaters of war and where army posts and bases have been subjected to incessant attacks by the Boko Haram, the ISWAP, and the ISIS bandits and Fulani herdsmen, killing and maiming Nigerian soldiers, unquote, only to focus on the Southeast, which has remained relatively peaceful. Ohaneze Digbo also wonders why the army chief derives the power to issue such a threat, which under the country's constitution can only be carried out by the National Assembly on demand by the president. It is highly surprising that an army chief who was watching as the governor of Katsina State was negotiating and taking pictures with armed bandits would turn around to threaten to impose a state of emergency in states where unarmed citizens are agitating against the harsh and inhuman conditions they have been subjected to by their country. Ohaneze Digbo believes that the threat of General Buratai is a vindication of the belief that the Southeast is being regarded as a conquered territory, exemplified in the army of occupation stationed in the area. It is also a glaring example of the reckless impunity of public officers and a tacit manifestation of the vacuum in governance at the federal level. Ben Nwabeze-led group fixes October 1 for summit on Nigeria's constitutional future. Pro-National Conference Organization, PRONACO, a pan-Nigerian movement, has said that for Nigeria to mend its fences and remain as a united entity, there must be a consultative forum where the North and South must sit to agree on its constitutional feature. The group disclosed that it has therefore fixed Nigeria's Independent Day, October 1, for a summit between the North and Southern parts of the country to deliberate on the nation's constitutional feature. The group, which consists of eminent jurists and elder statesmen, maintained that Nigeria requires a new citizen-driven constitution for equity, reconciliation, stability, and progress is a citizens-driven process and led people's constitution instead of what is it described as, quote, the ritual of piecemeal constitution amendment by the National Assembly. The group, in a statement from its secretary, Olawale Okuni, applauded groups like Northern Elders Forum, Yoruba Summit Group, and some former leaders of the country for endorsing this position, which is noted was championed by late Chief Anthony Nahoro, Professor Wole Soyinka, Professor Benwa Beze, Chief Emeka Anyoko, Professor Kimse Okoko, Solomon Asemota, San, Admiral Ndubisi Kano, Chief Olufalaye, Commodore Dan Suleiman, General Kirinade, among other eminent statesmen, jurists, and other leaders of thought on the panacea for the Nigerian national question. The statement reads in part, quote, for the avoidance of doubt, it will be recalled that the People's National Conference, PNC, convened by PRONACO in 2005 under the chairmanship of late Anthony Nahoro, ably assisted by Professor Wole Soyinka, practically demonstrated and created a model of legitimate procedures for arriving at a popularly owned people's constitution for Nigeria when about 200 nationality groups in Nigeria converged for 18 months in various parts of the country to adopt a 29-point resolution for resolving Nigerian national question. In the light of the foregoing, we wish to state unambiguously that the way out of Nigeria's current constitutional morass and quagmire, foisted by the Nigerian military at its exit from power in 1999 through the imposition of Decree 24, called 1999 Constitution, which today has generated so much instability, insecurity, and mutual mistrust and incohesion in Nigeria. The group also noted that President Buhari, who incidentally was privy to the PRONACO process, to immediately initiate and drive an executive national intervention bill for urgent amendment of Section 8 and 9 of the 1999 Constitution to allow for a new provision/clause that will enable Nigerian citizens assume the sovereign powers of referendum, either directly or indirectly, over the making and ownership of the Nigerian Constitution. Quote, to this end, a national consultative summit on the constitutional future of Nigeria involving Northern and Southern elders and leaders of thought has been proposed by our joint collaborative secretariat for October 1st, 2020, Nigeria's Independence Day, to harmonize Northern and Southern positions on the constitutional future of Nigeria. It read, unquote. Okay, I would like some contributions here, but we can see that this is all these conferences, the conferences that Wabeze and Co. and Soyinka are organizing is simply a way to see if they can bail the cat. You know, who will bail the cat? And this is the position that Nigerians have found themselves in, where the Fulani people have hijacked the government and have used the instruments of power, instruments of coercion, to crush the people even further, to make them, reduce them into servitude, to reduce them into slaves, to subordinate the will and sovereignty of the people's different nationalities that constitute the colonial contraption that is Nigeria. And we are saying that it must be resisted. It should not be allowed in any way, shape, or form. We shouldn't allow them to be successful. that the God that created us has given us power, mind to think, and the will to be able to choose what to do, to act. We should act on it. We should act in resistance of this plot, this conspiracy, this evil from the north towards the conquest of the rest of Nigeria. There's a press statement I want to read again from the Biafran Biafran Restoration Movement. And he says, sorry, why are Nigerians this useless? Ordinarily, the word useless means of no use or serving the purpose, not serving any useful purpose, unavailing or futile, etc. The useless and insane Nigerians. So is there any reason or reasons in arguing that these set of people called Nigerians are not useless, evil, stupid, and insane? Is there any sane and sensible person in the world that is not aware that Nigerians are stupid sets of people? Let's rephrase. Is there anyone who is not aware that the stupidity of Nigerians actually rings a bell? Who is unaware that stupidity and evil runs in the vein of an average Nigerian? Of course, don't get us wrong. We are aware that they are wonderful Yorubas, kind Hausas, very good Igbos, fantastic people from the various other ethnic groups, as well as Fulanese, who are not bad. However, the truth remains that once you merge these people from the various ethnic groups that make up the country together, they become very stupid, evil, insane, and useless. Yes, very stupid, evil, insane, and useless set of people emerges. They defend the indefensible, justify the unjustifiable, make excuse for the inexcusable, cares only about themselves, celebrate murderers, recycle their own murderers, treat the honest ones amongst them with contempt, fight for God and wants God to fight for their violated rights, use instruments of the state to intimidate and oppress the weak, hail their oppressors, celebrate dictators, make excuse for having their fundamental human rights violated and abused by their leaders. They blame the victims while thanking the murderers for keeping the numbers of their present victims lower than the past's. Nigerians allow the labors of their heroes past to be in vain, pay killers to be merciful in their next killing spree, open fire on peaceful protesters, argue on why murderous groups are criminal elements and should be overlooked from arrests, call you names for being peaceful, criminalize the activities of those who aim for self-defense, educate you on why one AK protocol can grant unhindered freedom to outsiders to murder their fellow citizens and walk away. Of course, she gazets terrorism, tags on peaceful self-determination agitators, and even preaches to Biafrans why they should obey an unjust law that proscribed them, while failing to ask the fundamental questions of why the government shields real terrorists of the murderous Fulani herdsmen fame from proscription. The worst is that Nigerians even make excuses for their presidents for disobeying same laws they're sworn to uphold. Oh, what a people. Their president stands before the UN and advocates for the right to self-determination for strangers in Islamic territories of Palestine and Western Sahara. And they, the stupid Nigerians, hail him. And their Eastern countrymen advocates the same rights, and it becomes treasonable felony and a terroristic act. And the useless Nigerians speak grammar in support. And you want to argue that these people are not useless? Nigeria treats peaceful agitators as terrorists and treats confirmed terrorists with so much humaneness that only leaves you asking, is their president a terrorist? Is he in love with terrorists and terrorism? Why is he recycling terrorists in the name of, quote, they have repented? Are his supporters made up of terrorists? In fact, Nigeria promotes the notion that if you are peaceful, you'll be visited with violence, but when you are violent, you will be invited for negotiations. Wait again. And you want to argue that such people are not useless and stupid. If not an act of stupidity, why will the Nigerian state be forcing an unwilling party or parties to be part of her? Is she unaware of the heavenly inspired question? Can two work together without an agreement? What is the essence of forcing a people whose souls, spirits, and bodies have left the union to be part of the same union? By the way, which government will want to bring an unwilling party into its fold and yet doing so with so much blood of the unwilling in its hands, if not the one that is useless and acts so insane? Moreover, this is the most apt definition of Nigeria, not a group of morons forcing themselves to live together, killing one another, hating on each other, and yet wishing they were apart. Nigeria must end her state-sponsored terrorism against our people. Well, to continue to be useless, stupid, evil, and insane is entirely the prerogative of Nigeria and Nigerians. However, what is no longer hers is to continue with the reign of state-sponsored terrorism on our people. This reign of state-sponsored terrorism against our people since 1945 can no longer be allowed to continue. The era of killing our people by Nigerians because of a cartoon of Prophet Muhammad drawn in faraway Denmark must be over. The era of killing our people by these stupid Nigerians because Israel bombed Palestine must be over. The era of killing our people by evil Nigerians because of a Miss World beauty pageant must be over. The era of the country's security police, the useless DSS, who can't conduct covert operations to uncover the sponsors and backers of Boko Haram, ISWAP, and murderous Fulani herdsmen, etc. But it is the haste to conduct, but they are in a haste to conduct one against our peaceful brothers as a prelude to murder them in conjunction with the notorious Nigerian police, army, navy, and air force must also stop. Nigeria must understand that we are not ignorant of the facts. Our last murder of our people at MNA Enugu State is not an isolated case, but a very well planned and executed continuation of our state-sponsored terrorism against our people. It has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that IPOB was wrongly tagged a terrorist group. After all, the killing started years back before the terrorism tag. It also is not because they were engaging in martial arts or having any training. After all, those killed in a secluded compound in National School at Aba in 2015 that was even caught on video weren't having any martial arts training. Dito for Iguacha in 2016, Mpo in 2016, Bayelsa in 2015, Onisha in 2015 and 2016, Headbridge in 2015, Okigwe in 2001, Izu River in 2013, and others, such killings too numerous to list. Proscribing the proscriber. Since Nigeria and Nigerians have failed to allow reason to prevail with her decision not to rescind her devilish action to tag a whole nation of indigenous people of Biafra as terrorists, yes, everyone that is an indigenous Biafran terrorist is even now using it as an excuse to continue her state-sponsored terrorism. We will have no choice than to also proscribe the proscriber and have her designated as local and foreign terrorist nation, institutions, and individuals. In the coming days, Biafrans will commence activities to officially proscribe Nigeria. We will not be stupid like Nigeria to proscribe her citizens. However, we will be proscribing every Nigerian institution and individuals that played any role in the continued terrorizing of our people, starting from her presidency and president. The terrorist in uniform that terrorized our people with several python dances, and who is even still threatening us with state of emergency declaration, and all his cohorts will be left out. That at the end of the proscription exercise, all Biafrans will be mandated to add the prefix terrorist when addressing any Nigerian or any of our institutions that ever terrorized Biafrans in all correspondences and names like terrorists Muhammad Buhari, terrorist Yemi Osunbanjo, terrorist Nigerian police, terrorist Mohammed Abubakar, terrorist Nigerian army, terrorist Nigerian state, terrorist Tuamu Buratai, terrorist Nigerian DSS, terrorist Abubakar Malami San, terrorist Ahmad Abdul Rahman, etc., will naturally surface. If Biafrans were able to, within a very short period, get Nigeria to be addressed as the zoo, Buhari to be addressed as a pedophile dollar of Daura, President lifeless, then all those that have terrorized our people should accept their baptismal names in advance. Moreover, addressing Nigeria and her stupid handlers as terrorists is even the right thing to do at this point in time. After all, the terrorist state of Nigeria is currently the third most terrorized country in the world. By the way, is the Nigerian terrorist state and her terrorist handlers and officials not useless in all ramifications, except in enabling corruption, evil, and injustice? This was signed by Maazị Walaka Maduka, Publicity Secretary of Biafran Restoration Movement. Okay, I would like some commentary from Chuksi Kedigwe, if it's possible to get him. We've read the justification, the last part of the justification for the sovereign state of Biafra, the issue of Buratai wanting to impose a state of emergency, and we read the Biafran press statement. And I support that Nigeria, for everything that we want to mention about the individual, the personalities, and the country itself, the prefix terrorist should be added there, because Nigeria is actually, they said, is the third worst terrorist. No, it is number one, because there are up to probably 7 to 8 terrorist groups there, and the killings in Nigeria are worse than in Afghanistan and Iraq. So this third thing, I don't know how they got, Nigeria in third. Is number one. If you're there.
Yeah, good day. Good day, Mazodi. Confirm you can hear me, please.
Yeah, I can hear you. You can go on.
Okay, good day. I use this opportunity to welcome our esteemed listeners, all Biafrans, everybody that's listening. Welcome to another special broadcast from the People's Favorite Radio Station, Radio Biafran International. Straight away, I'll go straight to the first news of the day. Justification for restoration of Biafra, of the sovereign state of Biafra, rather. We discovered that that news outline actually took us around everything that Biafrans have suffered in Nigeria, starting from the killing, starting from how they really punished us, starting out how they made our people to reject us, starting from denying us all our rights, taking our properties, denying us our monies in the bank, everything, how they've dealt with us. But in all and end, the writer made it to know that there's a real justification for the coming of Biafra, no matter what Britain says, no matter what Britain does. And I have a problem with most of our people. Each time they are talking, they will tell that Britain does not want Biafra to stand. Therefore, we must do it according to their own rules. Somebody was saying the other time, he's saying that Britain asks us to go and go for a debate, go for constitutional conference and what have you. I heard this side of my enemy telling me what to do. I don't like it and I don't use it. I don't agree with it. In Britain, what you have to do is to keep telling them why you are justifying your actions. And that's what we should be doing. And I thank God for this reading of that justification for restoration of Biafra, because they will know, they ought to know why we are justifying our quest for Biafra. But for me to agree with Britain, or for me to follow the rules they've laid out for us, or where they want us to go about, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. And no, definitely, anything your enemy suggests for you will never lead you to the right point, because his aim is to deceive you along the line. He makes you a promise. He wants you to be working in that promise while he's deceiving you. At the end of it, you've never achieved the purpose. It's just like telling a kid to bring water from a stone. That's exactly what they are doing. Those roots that are giving us to get Biafra. It's just like telling a kid to bring stone from to bring water from stone. It leads nowhere, to never work out. So people must understand that Britain can never offer us the way to get to Biafra. It's left for we Whatever offer they bring for us must be crooked, must be wrong. So it's about to fashion the better way to get Biafra. And why we are doing was constantly telling them why the coming of Biafra is justified. And that's why the justification for the coming of Biafra is a must read for everybody that is a Biafran, is a must read for everybody that lives in freedom. And moreover, we must keep saying it, we must keep handling it, we must keep speaking it every time. Britain cannot allow Scotland to have the right to have our own right to self-determination, and then tell us that it's not in our constitution. Or it shouldn't happen. Our people must tell them you can't do this. It's hypocrisy. You can't allow Scotland to do it, and then you come and preach for us. And it's nothing I keep telling Nigerians that try to tell me that it's not in our constitution. Your president cannot stand before the UN to preach right to self-determination for Islamic territory of Palestine, Islamic territory of Western Sahara, and come here. And when we, their fellow Nigerians, say the same thing, become a terroristic act. It becomes a what is it called? Treasonable felony. And the same Nigerians who held their president for advocating for that rights for these Islamic countries begin to speak grammar, begin to cover, begin to tell why it cannot happen. Our people must understand this must not allow. So I agree with everything Douglas Anene wrote in that article about the justification for Biafra. I'm all for Biafra. I've never beaten. In fact, the first time I started knowing something. There's something that was telling me that Nigeria never belonged with. He told me, I can remember that Nigeria never belonged with. We are not supposed to be in Nigeria. And as I keep growing up, I begin to understand why that thing was telling me. And I know it's so much. It's the same thing for most Biafrans. And that's why each time we hear about Biafra, something sparks in us. Because this country doesn't belong with. It has never belonged with. And it may never, ever belong us. So what we must do is to put all our efforts in getting this in Biafra. We may not be getting it to enjoy it, we may be getting it for our children, because what we are passing through here is a total blockade. A blockade has never been seen in the world before. How other people close their eyes to this is what I can't understand. But we that our eyes are open to it must speak out in its totality. Biafra is justified, no matter what happens, no matter who is speaking, no matter what they say, no matter how they are trying to tell you that the marginalization, because what they usually tell us, that the marginalization is not an isolated case, it's everybody that's affected. Everybody must be affected, but it's not the same route, the same way that we're affected. Our own is nothing other than a state-sponsored terrorism. That's what is happening to us. It's not like the others are suffering it. Our own, the government makes sure that nothing comes our own path. And then we come to the statement by Ohaneze. This is aware, okay? For no reason, the army chief, Brutal, terrorist Brutal. Yeah, thank you, Master, out there for asking us to put that terrorist on risk. Terrorist Brutal comes on board and is threatening us with state of emergency. This is the same man that has Python dance 1, Python dance 2, Python dance 3, Python dance 4. At every opportunity, is then the service trying to provoke us, trying to let us know that we're conquered people, trying to make us, what can you do? Because that's what they ask us, what can you do? You can't do anything. We've conquered you, we've taken you hostage, and you made perpetually hostage. But people must understand. That's what I'm saying, that that justification is here, because what is happening in our land is not an isolated, it is a perpetual state-sponsored terrorism, and that's why they at every opportunity they make way to do it. For terrorist groups are telling us we will declare state of emergency in a place that's totally peaceful. The north, people can't even come out. The terrorism, the insecurity in the north is something else. He has never found it worthy. He has never found it reasonable to declare state of emergency in the north. But in the south, that is peaceful. That's what he's willing to do. He's already threatening. I know, because before they even start to threaten, they've already perfected the plan. So, and that's why I have to even rise up now to condemn it in advance before they bring it. And then if you condemn it now before they bring it, we don't have to react towards it. The worst thing is that Buhari is not Brutal is not making himself the president because he has no constitutional rights. And that's what we're talking about, the constitution of Nigeria. If the constitution of Nigeria, if he doesn't know the constitution, why is he the army chief of staff? Because he's only saying it because he knows he can manipulate the constitution to fit him. By the time it happens now, it will be some stupid Nigerian will try to make excuses for him on why somebody like him who has no constitutional right to declare state of emergency will declare it. If he does it, stupid Nigerians, insane, mad, insensitive, terroristic Nigerians will come on air, come on social media and start defending him. They defend the indefensible. That's what Nigeria is all about. Even if they kill all of us, Nigerians will also make excuses for that. And that's why people must understand what we are fighting for. That's why people must understand like this is an isolated case. It's a case that they built into the system. At every opportunity, they keep killing us. They draw Mohammed cartoon in Denmark. Igbos die. Biafrans die. For what? And then the state apparatus will just be looking why these killings are happening. They do beauty pageant. It's our people that will die. Anything at all that happens, even Israel bombs the Palestine, will die here. Why? And then we are being killed by people who prophesy that they are the same people with us. The people that claim to be fellow citizens with us. That should let us know that we are not one. We've never been one. Somebody that you are one wouldn't kill you at every opportunity. You've not done anything. We look for even the slightest reason to start killing you. And when that is happening, the government wouldn't do anything. And the worst at the end of the day, the government will never set up any panel of inquiry. They even investigate what happened. They will not pay any They will not pay any compensation to our people. But you catch Boko Haram, you catch the terrorists, government will be the one to sponsor them abroad because they are why? Because they are their own people. They want to treat their people different. You discover in Nigeria, we are not even second class, we are fourth class citizens. Because the terrorism is built in the country. Terrorist Buhari will go to start before the UN to advocate for right to self-determination. For strangers, Islamic strangers. And then by the time Biafrans demand for the same, they become a terrorism act. And guess who we find reason to excuses. Guess who we find reason to support it? These stupid Nigerians, they will find reason to. And what's that? These are the same people that hate Buhari for saying the same thing for other people. But when it's our people, it becomes a crime. Our people get killed and they tell you it's a clutch. What kind of stupid clutch is that? You kill armless people who haven't done anything. Because all this is happening because we are working with a state, a country that has decided to kill us in their usual state-sponsored terrorism. It has been happening for long. It's not start today. It's not start because IPOB was wrongly tagged terrorist organization. In fact, the title of IPOB terrorist organization was just to give them more justification to murder people. Innocent people, they just murder. But when their own people get caught, sometimes you have to wonder why is it that their president so treats terrorists with so much humane? He's so in love with terrorists. He takes them abroad, he rehabilitates them. Why the people that they've chased away from their homes are living in DIP camps without being attended to? But these Boko Haram terrorists who have murdered many, made some hopeless, made so many children orphans, and made this thing childless. He's been treated with so much humane. The government will make excuses for them. The government will treat them with love and passion. And the national law will stop. No, the children love and passion as their foot soldiers, so that when the time comes, they can murder on their behalf. This is what is happening. And then coming to our press release, our press statement, it talks about the stupid, insane Nigerians, the numerous things they've done to our people, how they defend the indefensible, make excuse for the inexcusable. Once their fans are concerned, Nigerians can go to any length to excuse anything they do. Because that's what makes them happy. That's what gives them happiness. When our people are brought down, Nigerians rejoice. But when we speak our rights, no. So people must wake up, understand what is happening, get the facts right. If we must get Biafra, one of the things we need to have our people educated to know why we are where we are. And we are where we are because of state-sponsored terrorism of Nigeria. And the only way that state terrorism sponsorship can stop if we are open to this fact. And that's why I'm using to call on all Biafrans. We must proscribe the proscriber. We must prescribe them, and that's why I'm not happy with IPOB to some extent. Somebody can prescribe and you're allowing it to run amok with it. The normal thing to do everywhere is when people prescribe, you give them the same treatment. Call them those names. At the end of the day, you get everybody will get lost on the name calling. It's a name calling process. So call them. Muhammad Buhari must be terrorist. Muhammad Buhari any day. He's a lifeless one. He's a dollar dowry. You must get him to get angry because he can't be only the one punishing our people. Nigeria, the terrorist state, must not allow to go free with what they've done to our people. And the best way to get them to feel what we're passing through is also to prescribe them. And I agree that at least let's even, if we get it right, let's even prescribe them on the day of their independence. 1st of October, when they will celebrate that birthday, you give them an official, even if it's a mob prescription. We get all our people, call them by their name. Nigeria must be, and that's what Lagos and Brazilians are doing. They don't even mention the Francophones. They call them La Republic, terrorist La Republic. You must understand, because when you continue, the world will understand. And this is the best time for us to do it. But this is, in fact, it's even the right thing to do, because the world knows that Nigeria is the third most terrorized state. And thank God for my son, that it's not even the third, but even the first. Because she has about 8 terrorist organizations existing side by side. And that is the highest in the world. No other country has as much as that. So we must understand this. Those people that terrorize them with name calling too. So at the end of the day, they will feel what you are feeling. They will feel your pains. And then by the time you consistently call them terrorists, the world will start taking note of it. In fact, they will be the one to beg you one day to stop, so that they will also prescribe you. So we mustn't allow them to know that, because the person of the stupid Nigerian will start telling you that, oh, it was only IPOB that was prescribed, and IPOB is a group. That's what they will make it look like. No, IPOB is not a group. IPOB is everybody in that scene that's affected. If they have wanted to do it, they would have said, okay, IPOB done that Nnamdi Kanu. They never said that, or IPOB done that customer government. They never said, or IPOB done that US. They never said that. They just said IPOB. IPOB is it's a combination of everybody in that. So in that space, they've lost out of argument. I almost think argument to them that we prescribe the whole nation. We are going to prescribe every institutions in the, especially all of them that terrorize our people, starting with the president, because the president has been very, very massive. They've made it a point of contact to terrorize our people at every given opportunity. What they ask for other people, when we ask for the same thing, we attack terrorists. But other people that they advocate for right for self-determination, non-blockade, those ones are innocent people. Our people must understand those facts. You can't be doing python dance in our state, in our region every other time, and we allow you to continue without telling you that you're a terrorist, because you are terrorizing our people. And that's what Nigeria do. The Nigerian police is terrorizing us, the TSS is terrorizing us, the Nigerian Navy is terrorizing us, the custom is terrorizing us. All of them that are terrorizing our people. They will march roadblocks on the way. Once you are Igbo, once you are from that region, they will give you a different kind of search. They will seize your vehicle. Custom will seize your vehicle, tell you one thing or the other. They do it every time with pride, because they know nothing will happen. And I'm even surprised that even Hannes is telling us that even the Southeast governors are dumb, lame duck, because they don't rise up to the occasions. I understand where the Constitution places them, but they must rise up to the occasions. It's very important they rise up today, because you've seen some Yoruba governors rise up. Your governor of Ondo rose up, even though he might be politically distant, but at least he is working, starting up, carrying it on his head to get Omoteku working, and they're sending it to other people. Our governors must rise up to these things, because our governors are up to their responsibility. Brutal terrorists, brutal, will not be telling us that he intends to declare state of emergency in a peaceful region. Why has not done it in his own place? Why has not done it anywhere in the north, where kidnapping, banditry, what have you is at the peak, where people are being murdered, killed for no reason? Even soldiers, army barracks are being raided by terrorists, and the stupid terrorist Brutal has listened to tell us about the clear state of emergency. It gets me weak. It gets me angry. It gets me. It confirms what I've always known, that this is not a country for people. It's a zoo, and and in the zoo, they can never stop misbehaving. So we too, we must never make excuses. Nigerians can make an excuse for bad behavior. Biafrans don't make excuse for bad behavior. Anybody that must terrorize us, we must call them terrorists. Whoever they are, whatever name they've terrorized us, we must call them by actual name. And the actual names are the terrorizers, because the terrorizers, they are terrorists, and they'll continue to be terrorists until reason prevails that they will lift the terrorism tag on all Biafrans. Until that is done, they all continue to be terrorists, and terrorists they will remain. Thank you, Mazotti.
Thank you so much, my wonderful brother Chuksi Kediwe, for that analysis. You followed the news according to his presentation. You know, there are a couple of things that you said that actually rings a bell in me, which is very important. And this issue of actually we condemn those who condemn us. That is, condemn them in the name of God. It's very important to do that, because I think our people have not. There's so much evil that has been done to us as a people that, and one thing with evil is that when when you are defeated in your spirit, you now act it out. That's what has happened to us. You mentioned something about whenever something bad happens to Igbo, Nigerians forget all their sufferings and then begin to justify it, because the government does it. This is why we talk about Igbo hatred in Nigeria. And they don't also understand that it is this hatred that has held themselves back down as well. They say somebody who's holding somebody down is holding, in Igbo proverb, is holding himself. So they don't understand that's what has kept them down. If people have talents, the talent that Igbo have is not created by the Igbo themselves. It was given to them by God. Just like the talent that other people have. All of them there have talents, one talent or the other. But then, that talent cannot come to fruition because they support evil, they support oppression, they support exploitation of others. Once it's Igbo, you have to justify it. This hatred is what is going on. And this is the hatred that the Europeans exploited in slavery. They will come and then they will join you because they know you hate the other person. And then, give you arms and then they enslave the other group. That is why Africa has been all over the whole world. But the white people have fought amongst themselves. Nobody went there to enslave them. I guess they are just lucky on that area. Except the Arabs. The Arabs had enslaved the the people around the Caucasus, actually, even Turkey. They enslaved the Slavs, actually. That's from where the word slavery comes from, the Arabs. And these same Arabs we're having a problem with today. They're working with the British. These are people who historically have been very good at enslaving people, at conquests, at exploiting others. You look at the British history of slavery. Look at the Arab history of slavery, 1,400. That's how long the Arabs have been doing this thing. The Fulani and the Kanuri are Arabs. They don't know Shua Arabs, whatever you call. They are Arabs. They are not even Africans. Arabs came in and took over the whole of North Africa, then took over West Africa, subdued every ethnicity. And we all seen how they wanted to subdue the peoples of the Middle Belt by telling them that they have to, subject their chiefdoms under their emirate. They'll create an emirate, and then you got problem. Then they begin to assassinate their leaders one after the other. This is Fulani for you. We are telling these people and the Christians, those of you who want to listen, these people are unreasonable. Stop reasoning with them. Stop thinking that you. I mean, one Wednesday is talking about calling a conference and so on. With who? Well, it's okay to talk to them, but look, understand that there is no way you can get to an agreement with these people because they are set towards enslaving you, whether you like it or not. Simple. They are set towards enslaving you. That is their system, what they've been doing for the past 1,400 years, led by the criminal that they called Muhammad himself, calling him a prophet without prophecy. How can that sort of a human being be a role model to anybody who has his senses intact? How can a man who went slaughtering people, stealing, robbing caravans and all the rest, armed robber, you married a kid of 6? Can you imagine that? Took women whom they killed their husbands as, sex slave concubines. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And somebody who says he's a human being, his brain is intact, is following such a man as an example. Give me a break here. If it's American, they say, give me a break. This is unbelievable. How does somebody, a human being, lead you? Lead you to where? Which heaven? Which heaven? You want an armed robber to lead you to heaven? Aren't you a dreamer? Are you not stupid and are you not rather messed up and confused? And most of them, they're holding them with force. You cannot voice your own opinion within the Islamic world. No, you cannot. They will kill you. If somebody has to kill you for what you believe, don't that tell you that thing is wrong? Because I have to make my decisions and believe. Because if it's not me believing, then it is force that is believing for me, not me. When you force somebody to do something, he's not doing it, it's you doing it for him by force. It does not follow. Because faith is a spiritual thing. It is based on his heart, what he or she wants to believe. This is common sense. This is a reasonable way to look at it. But no, they don't want. They just subdue themselves to these evil forces. And it solves problem everywhere they go. Solves problem, always. So, my fellow Christians in Nigeria, the Middle Belt, they're coming around it. But how did you come around it yourself? You came around it because you are being slaughtered. You're seeing that after 50 years of using you, which is what Uthman Danfodio said, published in the Parrot of October 12, 1960, that they will use the minorities of the Middle Belt and work with them to subdue the South. And truly, that is what they have done. That is what you have, why you have what you have today in the contraption. The problem that you have. You've served them. But you had them, you saw him, you didn't think about it. They always use the Igbo as boogeyman. Look at the Igbo, he's going to do this. Oh, it's always what he's going to do, not what he did. Oh, he will cheat you. Where did he cheat? No. They cannot produce the evidence because they are the ones cheating. And you fall for all these lies. Nigerians and Christian Nigerians in particular, you have fallen for these lies for too long. It is time that you change. Use your senses, for goodness sake, for once. And the British are the ones also behind them, instigating them. Just like they instigated them right from the beginning. They intimidated Zeke, they threatened him because they locked him up a couple of times because he was fighting for your own freedom. And a lot of Igbo people who were them. Yes. They were the pioneers that struggled for British Nigeria and also African freedom. The freedom that even affected South America and West Asia. And you say how? Because the treaty that was signed, Transatlantic Treaty, that was signed in 1941 between Roosevelt and Churchill, was that for the United States to join Britain to fight the Second World War. They must relinquish their colonies. And you know who pressurized that? It was Nnamdi, Benjamin Azikiwe, and other group of people like Mbono Ejike, like Nwaforis, K.O. Mpadu. These are Igbo nationalists, Igbo Pan-Africanists. Mbono Ejike was in the student body in London then, in the United States, sorry. He was the deputy in the African Students Union. The president was Kwame Nkrumah, and Mbono Ejike was the deputy president. These are Pan-Africanists. So they don't sing about our own, they don't talk about our own people because they talk about, you hear more of Nkrumah. It's because of Nigeria suppressing the achievements of the Igbo. The same problem they have, it causes them sleepless night. Somebody does something good, which they benefit, it causes them sleepless night. You rather prefer to be. Very wicked people, very evil people. There is no way you can progress with such a people. That is what we're letting our people and every Christian who claims that he has read the Bible to know. If you are going to keep playing that game that Nigerians are playing, it will end up on your own. You will lose, just like you see a lot of you right now, all over Nigeria, losing your peace. It's getting worse for you. There is no food. There is insecurity everywhere. The Fulani are busy slaughtering everybody from east to west, north to south, everywhere. Terrorists, all of them. Al-Qaeda and ISIS has joined them. What have you benefited by this, using your energy to fight against Igbo? Somebody who is actually fighting for you. How smart can you be, really? You know, sometimes you say people are calling names. It's not names. So there are certain acts that are very stupid. Stupid is a word. Go and find out what it means. You're working against your own interest. How does that make you a wise person? Igbo people who have done nothing to anybody in Nigeria, who are victims with you, like you. But they will, tell you this, and they'll tell you that in whisper. You see, they're doing this, you see, they're doing that, you do this, that, and you believe all that gossip. So you begin to work against your own interest. What does it end up in? It ends up in you're enslaving your people. It ends up in what you see Nigeria become now, and it's getting worse. Don't believe anything they tell you. They can tell you, oh, we're having talks here, we're having conference here, we're going to study. All those are lies. The idea is to conquer you, period. And you have to either decide to fight them. That is the age. Or you go to mosque, you go and build a mosque and go there. They might spare you, but when they spare you with mosque, you are going to be second class. They will impoverish you. Your children and your children's children will have no hope. Go and check the house, how it is for them. Check all the ethnic groups in the north, how they're able to subdue them, where you have the Emirates. Even Yoruba, what they're doing to Yoruba land. How the Yoruba people become Muslim. Subdue them. And because they are scared to fight, they are cowardly people. They go and worship idols. It will affect them, so they lose the courage. But we're telling you, we worship God. God will deal from our own hands. God will deal ruthlessly with these people because they are worse than animals. They are subhumans indeed. Fulani people. How can somebody be walking around killing people? That's all he does. Nothing good comes out of these people. No sense of development, no sense of, they don't go to school. The ones of them that went to school, they use their knowledge to advance evil. They are demonized people. They want to act that way. That is what the tag they will be given. And they are terrorists, naturally. People say, oh, well, they are good Fulanis. Where are they? Why are they not condemning the genocide that's going on? Just like they tell us, oh, well, you have their good Muslims. Where are they? Why are they not condemning the terrorism going around everywhere in the world? Tell me a people that you see that gets into a plane and fly the plane into the building. Blow up. It's only one set of people. Islamic Arab and Muslims. Set of people in the whole world. Not that say that they are most oppressed. Africans are oppressed. We're going to slavery. Do you see them doing that type of thing? A boy, a little kid at 4 years, 3 years, you give him a gun, telling them that he will kill this person and kill that person, and you tell me that person is normal. There is some abnormality with that. It's like a curse. Because you can still fight your battle, but do it in a sensible. No. But it comes from the belief. The belief. What do you believe? What do you believe? What is it that you believe? Islam started 600 years after Christ had come, died, resurrected, ascended, and seated at the right hand of the Father, God Almighty. Islam before Islam started. There were Christian eras before you had Muslims. And once this man showed up, this madman showed up, it is kill, kill, kill. 1,400 years, 270 million people dead because of an ideology. And you call it religion. You know, it's like the madness of the colonies, the Spanish colonies, the Western European colonies, who came over to the America and to the Africa and to Asia and went rampaging and ravaging everywhere. Like animals. This is the same problem we are having today. You know, so, and then some of them come up and say, oh, we were civilized. Civilized how? Could you explain to me how massacring and exterminating a whole people, genocide, makes you a civilized person? It makes you worse than a barbarian, or for goodness sake. For goodness sake. After killing them, now you're happy? Look at your life full of misery. Despite the technology, despite the order, yes, your life is full of misery. It's only somebody who doesn't know you that knows that. Because let me tell you the truth. Whatever you do, you will have a spiritual, there's a being that created this earth and created you. You are not, people want to say, claim they are being in charge. In charge of what? What are you in charge of? What did you create? Your own body or whatever. Tell me what you created. Technological creations are manipulations of nature, which God has given the knowledge in man to be able to do. But not that man will call himself a creator. We can't create one cell in your body. So how much are you in charge of it? So after all this committing this evil, you think it will come? There are forces that has created this world. You will account to them. You must account. Whether you believe it in that your coconut head or not, doesn't change anything. One day you'll account for it. So we are telling people who are Christians to please, they're getting me riled up. But evil will get you riled up. I'm telling you, if you love good, it will get you riled up. This is madness going on in this world. Somebody oppressing another person, that's all you see going on. Poverty in places, you go and examine, you find that somebody is with a suit and tie, sitting down in one office, conceiving and crafting the policies that are holding millions in bondage. Yeah, sitting on his air-conditioned office. Evil people. And you look at them, you see them, you think you're seeing human beings. Investigate what they have done. That's how you begin to understand who you're looking at. It could be a president, could be a prime minister, it could be a lawmaker in the country, it could be a businessman. Anybody you see, investigate his history and that's where you understand the person. Forget what he's telling you right there in your face, because it always lie right in your face. That's what they do. They lie like their father, the devil. Because the Bible says that the devil is a liar. You see people that lie all the time. Just like we're getting lies from Fulani all the time. Takia, they call it Takia. Look at it. That's what they do. You offend looking at him and they said they deny it. No, we didn't do it. It's not right in your face, right there. Just like they're killing people, you see some of them come out in news offices and they are denying this. There is no shame in this people. It makes you ask one serious question. What type of people are this? Oh God, what type of people are this? What are they made of? We're enjoying all Christians. Those of you in Middle Belt, you're taking very good decisions now. We accept the apology that delivered to our people. And this is what we have said a long time ago. Don't you have eyes to see? Can't you see what is going on? And those of our people who are, in all these the states they call South and so on, and those of them in Middle Belt and so on, it's time you come around. Ask questions. Ask your traditional rulers, where do you come from? That is a legitimate question to ask. Where do you come from? To give you their history. Because they will know. Elders may not know, but they will know. I'm telling you. They sure will know. Ask them, where do you come from? I say, people. Just about yesterday, there's an upload in the internet. And Ben Ayade, the governor of Cross River State, says that he's Igbo. Benedict Ayade said that he's Igbo. And I want to use this to help those our neighbors whom they keep telling, no, you are not Igbo. You are something else. You are this and that. You know, that's the strategy. Divide and conquer. They have used it in slavery. They use it in colonization. You come to a people, you divide them, you make them feel different. You use one against the other. Then after that one you've used and conquered the other one, then you conquer the one whom you have used. That is divide and conquer strategy. It happened in slavery, has a colonization. And in your colonization today, do not allow it to happen to you. The fact that the British are helping the Fulani does not mean they like the Fulani. No, they are going to use them to conquer, and afterwards they subject them now. Look at the whole of West African states, you know, and most of Africa, they are still living under colonial power forces. That's all. You know, so they use one ethnicity against the other. The problem is that we don't know how to. Of course, the Muslims, I mean, very unreasonable people, and it's done that by brainwashing them and so on and so forth. That is why they are the way they are. So we have to reason with people who are reasonable, because we have no option other than to resist the Islamic onslaught that is going on. They are now in our forest, you know, they already started killing, raping, you know, doing all kinds of terrible things. These terrorists are already there. And like we told you, what they do is that when they come into a land, they will have 4 wives, have many children. In the next 20 years, they are pulling force. They are speaking the language of your people very well by then. Huh? And they're now government representatives. They will take over the land. They will take you over. Go and read their history. Same thing they do always. And that is why we say you have to uproot them. We didn't say you have to live with them amicably. You have to uproot them. The reason why you have to uproot them out of your land is because of their intent. Their intent is to enslave you. Their intent is to make you subordinate, to make you subjects, reduce you into poverty, because that is what they will do. Just like you see the North, they reduce those whom they have imposed themselves on into poverty. They can't do this, they can't do that. They can't do this, they can't do that. They put those laws over them. Sharia law, that's what it does to you. And there is no development. When there was development, when you had Eastern region, and suddenly there was little development because they were looking at the Igbo, so they were trying to catch up. The Igbo was the threat for Ahmadu Bello. So they will say, build industry, build that, you know, that all those things are gone now because they're back to Islamic values. Exactly. It's that you see backwardness in the place, complete backwardness. So where there is no freedom, your freedom is not allowed. Few Arab nations who have been who are developed, you know, you talk about Dubai. These are little places where you have one prince and he decides to go and bring Westerners to build the place up because he wants to show up his ego. They come and build it. That doesn't mean you have freedom there. If you go there, there is no other religion that you can preach about except Islam. If you do that, they'll chop off your head. And you don't have freedom to do so many things. That fundamental human rights cannot be applied there. So it's not just building a place up, but your rights are not respected. As these fundamental human rights are God-given rights. They are not rights made by any parliament. They are not rights that are created by any constitution. No, it is God-given right. You have a right to have opinion. You have a right to speak. You have a right to move around. You have a right to choose your religion. You know, you have a right to assemble. You have a right to self-determination. These are God-given rights. That's why they call it self-determination. It is your own self. You determine what you want to do. It is your God-given. It is inalienable. So there is no law that can overrule it, which is what you see some Nigerians doing. And these are some of them are lawyers. They'll tell you, well, the law says the constitution. Which constitution? Constitution that you know was a forgery from a terrorist president, military head of state, Abdul Salami Abubakar, and his fellow terrorists that sat down and wrote the constitution. How can a few people come and say, write constitution for it? And you're quoting that constitution for anybody? Are you insane? Are you insane? And you're telling us, oh, well, the constitution says this. This is what some groups are doing. Like we read about Pronaco. They will say because they have to change constitution section, this, that. Why change the section rather than change the whole thing? When you know the whole thing is a fraud. What should be calling is for the arrest of those who have created that constitution, Abdul Salami and Buka, and the prosecution of all of them. That is what. But there's intimidation all over the place. Yeah, because when they want to use fear, when with that fear, they conquer you. But we're telling you, do not be afraid. So I want to speak again regarding what Ben Ayede, who was the governor of Cross River, said. He's doing so well in Cross River State. He said that he's Igbo, and he spoke some Igbo as well. And if you investigate, Ben Ayede comes from Obudu, the place they call Obudu. Obudu is an area in Cross River. You remember the famous Obudu Cattle Ranch? I think it was M.I. Okpara that launched that Obudu Cattle Ranch. There is, we are all related. You know, some people came from Ado and Idu, and intermarried also some of us with the Bantu people. Some was just migration from Igbo, certain Igbo areas to those areas, and they settled. So Obudu, you know, shows you that there's a lot of Igbo people there in Obudu. It's important also to note, this is Ben Ayede, and I checked some governors of, you know, past governors of Cross River State, people like Donald Duke. Donald Duke, you know, his father was Henry Etim Duke, the second indigenous, longest ever serving Controller General of Nigeria. And he himself, obviously being from Cross River, was born there. He grew up there. Eventually, he went to Madibelo University and then went abroad to study. Donald Duke, if you check his origins, have very closely related to Igbo. Remember also there's a place that was called Duke City in Calabar. That is, Duke City was the microcosm that created the city of Calabar as you know today. That Duke City was called Akwa Aba. That is the original name of Duke City, Akwa Aba. He says that on September 1884, Queen Victoria signed a treaty of protection with the king and chiefs of Akwa Aba, known to Europeans as Old Calabar. This enabled the United Kingdom to exercise control over the entire territory around Calabar, including Bakassi. So today, Calabar is a large metropolis with several towns like Akim, Ikot, Ansa, Ikot Isie. Ikot Isie is directly from Nri people, you know? Yeah, Kasuk, Duke Town, Henshaw Town, Cobham Town, Ikot, Obutong, some of them are used, English names are used for them. These are places that have a lot of Igbo, Igbo related. That reminds me that Duke also, that Duke City, which is from Old Calabar, has a migrant population that was there a couple of hundred, probably more than 100 years ago, definitely. Maybe up to 200 years. But you had migrant population from Umuahia in Amos Umuahia. They are the ones that form the nucleus of that town, which is Akwapa, which is from Old Calabar, you know. And so these are actually our people. You know, we have to know, have these information so that it can inform our thinking and the way we behave. Because you'll be hearing people telling you you are not related to them. Where do you come? We come from Benin. That's the always easier cop out, not to be related to the Igbo. And this is what Nigeria is foisting. But I'm happy that our people are rising up to resist all this propaganda and lies against the Igbo people. And a lot of people will tell you, oh, well, we don't believe that anybody should be any, you know, people are just the same. People are not the same. Why are we targeted exceptional? That is, we have to stand up to it. Stop saying that, yeah, everybody is equal. I agree with you on that. But the idea to erase my identity, but you keep yours. Why is your problem? Why is my identity a problem to you? Those of you who talk all this nonsense. People's identities are a problem to others. Why? Why can't you be happy? We're happy for your own identity. Except for behaviors. Like you talk about Fulani, you know, terrible behavior. You know, there is satanic influences that go on with this. So we are not all just the same. Yeah, we have different cultures, different ways of life, different value systems. That is the problem with Nigeria. So I'm talking about this, you know, to inform people who think, oh, we are so much different, you know, and that's why I said this is an age of DNA test. DNA, we will do DNA test. You know, if you're coming from Calabar area, if you're coming, I would like to have a DNA test with you. We check, do DNA tests and check where you come from. Those of them abroad and so on, where you can easily do these things. Do it. Let them tell you where you come from. Yeah, that way it's easier for you to understand better your relationship with your neighbors. This is not a question of speculation anymore, because science, through DNA, science is able to tell history and do that authentically. You know, science is able to reveal history authentically, you know, so that it is no more on the realm of doubt. You know, it's no more ambiguous to anybody. Everybody will be very much acquainted or will accept the reality of his posterity when it is shown to him or her. I remember that Walter Patrick Eneji was deputy governor to Donald Duke, same Cross River State, and he comes from the Bekwara people, Abu Ochiche, you know, in Bekwara local government of Cross River State. I mean, you look at the names, don't sound so evil. And Cross River, the Efik people, one of the prime people in Cross River State. They are migrants from Ibibio. And you all know the relationship between us and Ibibio. Yeah, and Efik people are any group located primarily in southern Nigeria, the southern part of Cross River State. They speak the Efik language, which is a Benue Congo language of Cross River family. And yeah, they says that although the actual origins of Efik people are unknown, you see, they'll tell you unknown. Efik people will tell you that they come from the Middle East. Let me share something with you, my fellow listeners, who are Nigerians and Biafrans in particular, that you need to know. Obong Epenyong was Edidem Otu Epenyong, EFA 4. This was in the early 1900s. said that the Efik migrated from the Middle East. That is his own account. So go and check upon Edidem, go to Benyam F4 on what he said regarding Efik. Efik are culturally and linguistically related to the Ibibio from Uruan to Creek Town to Duke Town. Remember this Duke Town I told you had migrants from Umwai, Hamun's Umwai. The Efiks are ancient Hebrews. And he suggested that they have the Ark of God called Usan Abasin. Usan Abasin. The burial practice is similar to ancient Jews of Semitic origin. Ritualistic sacrifice of animals for purification, they practice that, especially during times of sickness, and they perform libation. Tell me a people that does that exactly this way. This is ancient Hebrew practice. This is what the Igbo do. So, Efiks might have migrated from Empire of Adonidu, which is Igbo. But for one factor, the restraining factor is Mr. Njoko's report of the effects that Mr. Aye produced an elaborate map showing that Efik migration route from North Africa went through the Sudan, entered Ghana, and crossed River Benue in Nigeria. Later on, the people settled down in present-day Arochukwu. And you see that? Supposing we use this report as simply a speculation, not that there is not a complete clarity over it, but we can look into their culture, can look into their religion to support this claim. So it says, although they have on their original traditions provide accounts of their migration from Igbo and Ibibio territory, to the northwest of Calabar, to the present location. The bulk of them left to Ruan in present-day Akwa Ibom State. Some to Enyong and surrounding areas. They stayed in Uruan for about 100 or so years and then moved to Ikpaene and Ndodihi briefly before crossing over to their final destination in Creek Town. There will seem to be 3 successive stages in the history of Efik migration and settlement. A, an Igbo phase, B, an Ibibio phase, and C, the drift to the coast. The people of Uruan were said to have given them the name Efik, deriving from a verb meaning to press or oppress, since they were alleged to be aggressive. So you have the Efik here, your close relation to the Igbo is not in doubt any longer. So there is no point. And I've given you a little bit about Ben Ayade. Then there's Lyle Imoke. Lyle Imoke happens to be a former governor of Cross River State also. He hails from a tribe they call the Abo tribe in Abi local government area of Cross River State. Now, this Abi local government area of Cross River State contains several Igbo villages and is home to an annual cultural festival. So it contains a lot of Igbo villages. So people from Abi come from the Abo subgroup of Igbo people. So we can see the connection of where Lion Imoko comes from. You see? We are looking at the relationship of peoples around us whom they claim that they are not Igbo and they don't have anything to do with Igbo and all these kinds of things, because Nigeria put fear in all of it. And it's time, like I said, you should do your DNA test. So you be very clear whatever you're doing. We're not saying this because Igbo can't stand on their own. Igbo can stand on their own. I mean, the Igbo as is presently known, without those that are claimed to be ambiguous or something, those that need to present plausible facts in order to believe them. They can very much well stand on their own. But we don't want to leave our people when this wicked edifice crumbles finally. We don't want to leave our people. That's why we're saying all this. So that somebody will say after Biafra, oh, well, we didn't know. Nobody told us. Well, you're being told now. So go and check that out. Because Biafra will come. Nigeria will collapse ultimately. And there is no possible reasonable way it can continue. Definitely not. The evil in that land and the bloodshed in that land has been too much. And the punishment for it, God will put it the way he puts on evil empires. That is how Nigeria will crumble like an evil empire that it is. There's another people that the Oba people who hail from Rivers State. Oba is one of the Igbo groups in Rivers State. They speak Oba, which forms part of Igbo cluster of languages. The Oba people speak the Oba language consisting of Egi and Igbo sections. You know, the Egi group comprises 17 communities with a history of natural resources. Obuburu community is famous for the production of pottery and ceramic wares because of the vast deposits of natural clay. A study conducted in Obuogo, located in one of the largest oil producing regions of Nigeria, has utilized 2 plant species to clean up spills. The first stage of the cleanup involved hibiscus cannabinus. So this is all, but these are Igbo people in River State. But this is where Governor Peter Odili, I believe, comes from. Yes, and there are very prominent sons of Oba. Igbo people can produce oil. Yeah, but they want to carve them out and tell them you are not Igbo. You are not Igbo. You are not Igbo. And you are queers because you believe it helps you to be secure. You know, there are some prominent, some eminent people in Oba, from Oba. Let me talk about this Oba a little bit, because this is Rivers, where, you know, people are quick to say, oh, we're not Igbo. Now, hear it now. That Oba is one of the Igbo groups in Rivers State. They speak Oba, which forms part of the Igbo cluster of languages in Rivers State of Nigeria. The Oba people comprise 14 extended families divided into clans and occupy an area of about 600 kilometers in Niger floodplain. And some people say, oh, well, they don't speak Igbo. Let me tell you the truth. You cannot, if you yourself that is listening to me now go to a different country and marry, does it mean, and you have children, don't mean those people don't have links with you? No. Your children are not likely to speak your language just simply because of migration and intermarriage. That assimilation or even assimilation, you don't speak that. So it's very, it's not hard to understand why. And what they speak is actually Igbo, but it's kind of mixed with other kind of language. So I said the Ali Oba speak the Oba language, consisting of the Egi and Iburu sections. You see, you only have sections. They both speak one dialect with little difference with each other, having a combined population of about 280,000 people. It's located in the central Orashi Sombrero Plains of Rivers State, Nigeria. One of the major producers of crude oil that fuels Nigeria's economic development in recent decades. According to current oil company records, no local government in Nigeria produces as much crude oil and gas as the Oba Egbema Ndoni local government area. This is from Ela, and this Ela, Senator Ela, comes from Oba. He was a senator in the 90s. As a result of the oil industry, Ali Oba community has undergone significant political, social, economic, and environmental changes during the past several decades. However, despite its image as one of the main contributors to the wealth of Nigeria, there is much poverty in many communities, resulting from unemployment, underemployment, low-wage jobs, and deterioration of the natural resource base. So we can see that the exploitation goes on while our people are suffering. They are living in squalor, indigent. But the British multinational corporations uses the Fulani, who works hand in hand with other ethnic groups like Yoruba people, to ensure that they control the oil blocks in that country and benefit from it at the expense of the people who own the land and the resources in the land. This is the wickedness of Nigeria, and it has to end. And please, for those of you who will say, oh, we are tribalistic, that is not the way to argue a case. Let me educate you. Prove that what the person is saying is wrong. That is how you can make sense. If you can't prove that what he's saying is wrong, what you're saying, you'll be looked down on by people who are intelligent. So please use your point to make, push forward your own opinion. Use sensible and reasonable points. Not, because you cannot override facts. We are using facts now. And this is a fact that is everybody else is well aware of. That the oil communities in Biafra land are simply exploited so much for the past 62 years. And the people have not benefited from the resources that are in their land. It is rather outsiders. And it's not just that the outsiders are benefiting, people like the Fulani. No, they are trying to conquer the people. They want to exterminate the people. They've tried before in 1967 to 70. Now they are trying again. So it tells you the type of people that we are dealing with and gives you the nature of our state as a people. So we need solutions to this. People always say, oh, well, we're not supposed to fight. Don't fight, don't fight. Let me tell you the truth. For those of you who are pacifists, God is not a pacifist. That means God is not just only for peace. God punishes his enemies. I'm telling you. God destroyed this world with violence. He has destroyed nations, including Israel, with violence. He will not spare you. Nigeria cannot be spared. I'm telling you. God uses people to ensure that his own agenda is pushed. You have to understand that. So, you're being peaceful. Part of it's good to be peaceful. It's good to seek peace. But where is justice? That is the question I ask. Can you have peace without justice? Can you have peace without justice? If we cannot have peace without justice, that means that we have to seek justice. You see the problem? Yeah. Because that is the route to which peace, we can arrive at peace, to which peace can be obtained. That is the channel to obtain peace, justice. And in Nigeria, all you have is injustice. Let me share further about the Oba people with you. The Oba people are a subgroup of Igbos who migrated from Anioma in Delta State and Ohajegbema of Imo State. And the Oba have some social, cultural, political legacies that reinforce their common origin and bind them together as a people with common heritage and destiny. These include geographic location, migration routes, language, and political structure. Geographically, Alioba stretches from about 450 north to 530 north and extends from about 625 east to about 640 east. Spatially, it covers an area of 920 square kilometers in the northern part of the Niger Delta region, located within the river Niger floodplains. It is bordered on the west by the Orashi River and on the east by the Sombrero River. In addition to the main drainage systems, there are the Omoko River and many back swamps, cutoffs, and interconnection streams, which form a maze of drainage channels superimposed on the area. At the peak of the rainy season, these interconnected waterways are a prominent feature of the landscape. Its location in the Sombrero Warri Deltaic Plains, which consists of coastal plains, sands, and other territorial tertiary deposits, marine, mixed, and continental deposits typical of deltaic environments, situates it in the rainforest zone of southern Nigeria. The area can be divided into 4 ecological regions. The Sombrero River Plains, the Orashi River Plains, the central well-drained lowlands, between the Orashi and Sombrero rivers and non-tiled up freshwater swamps basin. So, as a result of the geographic location, Alioba enjoys all year round high temperatures, averaging 80 degrees Fahrenheit in the day, with other night lows ranging from 65 to 70 degrees. Also, the area has at least 10 months of rainfall, totaling over 80 inches per year, with a very high humidity in summer months. The climate, conditions, and topography support a wide variety of plant and animal life. The flora consists of economic trees, especially oil palm trees, and a variety of plant species of great pharmacological value on human elixir. This is also by Ella, Senator Ella, I believe. So oral history and folklore. I said this just to put some embellishment on the Oba and the environment. See how wonderful it is. Depend on palm trees, just speaking of the Igbo people. But let me mention oral history and folklore have it that Alioba, which means Anioba, this is the land of Oba people, migrated from what is now called Anioma in Delta State, Ibanke in Edo State, across the river. Remember, Ibanke in Edo State, Ibanke comes from Nri. Nri is like the headquarters of the Igbo. So this is where Ibanke comes from. And they're in Edo State. And people want us to leave Ibanke from Biafra. Are you crazy? You must be crazy. We are not going to leave any of our people out. We are going with all of them. From the Ibanke to the Arago in Nazarawa is coming with us. Arago comes from Idoma. And that is why we are educating them and we're telling them, go and do your DNA test. Tell your people abroad, if you're listening to me within Nigeria, go and tell your people abroad, tell them to do DNA tests to confirm where they come from. And not just one person, tell other people to do. They can do that. It is not something, I mean, it is what you're putting your effort in. Okay? Now, some eminent people from Oba, area, prominent sons and daughters, Professor Claude Ake. Claude Ake is late now, this is an erudite professor who I was privileged to meet many years back. Professor Jaja Chinwa, Professor Ahiazu, Chief Odei E. Obonnaya, aka Levi Obonnaya, Chief S.O. Masi, Chief Okirie, Chief Akopia Ogwe, Eziburu 1, Eziburu 2, sorry. Everything used to be 1, so I guess my instinct went to 1. Chief Ahiakwo Ozi Obonnaya. We have people like Felix A. Abua. There is Chief Ibe Eresie Eke, who was the first local government chairman after the creation of Onelga from old Ahoada local government. You see, it's connected to Ahoada local government. Listen to that. It says, the Oba of Oba land, His Royal Majesty Nnam Chukwuemela Obi. You see? So we are not, it's not only Yoruba that has the Oba probably had been an Igbo thing first, even. Because remember, when we did a previous program here, where we mentioned where the Obi of Phoenicia talks about the first settlers in Ife were Igbo people from Ado and Idu before they migrated and left to Yoruba. There's still some part of Igbo in Yoruba land. I think in Ondo State or so. There is people. Then probably Ijebu there or something, somewhere like Ijebu, some area that is there. And they do have dreadlocks. That's how you know people who have Hebrew origin too, who have Hebrew links. They have dreadlocks. They're the only people that have dreadlocks there. No other people. So we will eventually deal with them and, we'll expose what we know about those people. We are going with all our people, basically. We are not going to leave anybody out. It is very important that we understand that. There is Ambassador Chief C.D. Orike, Professor Enwokocha, Senator Wilson Ake, Senator F.J. Ella, yes, that's the person I was referring to, Senator F.J. Ella, who I quoted his writings. His Royal Majesty Professor N.L.M. Wokoma, Matthew L. Onije, Prince Dr. Shedak Akoloku, Dr. Mrs. Grace Akoloku, Honorable Christian Ahiakwo, Prince Uche Namobi, Shedrack Chukwu, Dr. G.N. Obuzo, British-based researcher, process development expert, and philanthropist. Dr. U.W. Obuzo, Mr. Victor Masi. So we have people like Dr. Ngozi Odu, former Commissioner, Rivers State. Mr. Obele Elemele, Chief Mrs. Chinyere Nwokidu, former Commissioner, Rivers State as well. Mr. Ocho Odu, former Surveyor General, Rivers State. Chief Edwin James Ile, Mr. Peter Ile, Permanent Secretary, Rivers State. Mr. Messiah Obuzwa, Captain Newman Obara, Pilot. Captain Chuks Ogu, Pilot. Chief Obara Umejuru, Mr. Chibuzo Ugwo, former Managing Director, NDDC. Mr. Elemenya Ikoro, Eze Kingdom Elenwa, Ezegi 2 of Oberland, Colonel Kenneth Elemele, Professor Alexander Ako, and Engineer Benaya Ujum. So these are some of the prominent Oba citizens that we know. So we're looking at these to show you the very strong connections that we have as a people. Now, we mentioned in previous broadcasts about the Boki people who are also in Cross River State, the Boki local government area in Cross River State. They speak the Boki language. They said that it was created in 28 August 1991, and its capital is Bodje. The region has continuously has a contiguous border with the Republic of Cameroon, and is known internationally as a commercial center for agricultural commodities such as cocoa, coffee, timber, and palm products. So we can see that these people have a border with Cameroon. For key people, you can get in through the northeastern part of so-called Southeast Igbo land, but these people are Igbo. That's where I'm going to. They have a lot of Igbo connections with them. Boki people happen to be a place where people like Matthew Tawombo comes from. Matthew Mbo was a very prominent NCNC politician, and he has such a rich experience in Nigerian politics and happens to know Nigeria much better. He was, for example, a legislative. He had a lot of legislative and ministerial posts. He was a member representing Ogoja in Eastern House of Assembly in 1952 to 53. He was a member for Ogoja in House of Representatives in 1954 to 55. Member of Parliament in Ogoja 1960 to 66. He was Federal Minister of Labor 1953 to 54. Nigeria's youngest ever minister at 23 years of age. I remember knowing that about Matthew Mbo. Minister of Transport 1954. He was the Minister of Commerce and Industry 1954-55, Minister of Works 1955, Minister of State Naval Affairs and Prime Minister's Office 1960, Minister of Defense 1961-65. He was a Special Assistant to Prime Minister of Foreign Affairs 1963-66. He was Minister of Transport and Aviation 1966, Minister of Foreign Affairs 1992 to 93. He had diplomatic career, which is first High Commissioner for Nigeria in the UK 1955 to 59. First Nigerian Chief Representative in Washington, D.C. 1959 to 60. First Nigerian Chief Representative in the United Nations 1959 to 60. He was the first Nigerian Chief Representative in the United Nations 1959 to 60. Nigeria's Chief Delegate and Chief Negotiator of the United Nations Disarmament Conference in Geneva 1963 to 1965. And so on and so forth. He had so much rich history, rich experience indeed. But he was also Biafran foreign minister, most prominently 1967 to 70. Biafra's foreign minister. That is what I want everybody to note here, that he was Biafran foreign minister. This is from Boki people. Now, but recently, there's a publication in August 17, 2020, recently, where it says that General Moses Obi felicitates with the people of Boki on their 2020 New Yam Festival. These are Boki people where Matthew Mbo comes from. Who are the people that do New Yam Festival? And let me read this for you. The chairman of Ochibe Boki's General Moses Obi, retired, ON, has extended his gratitude and felicitation to the people of Boki local government area of Cross River State on their occasion of the 2020 New Yam Festival. So who are the people that do New Yam Festival? This is Igbo people, isn't it? Yeah. And the Ochibe of Boki, Ochibe means the person who rules the people. People who, not who rules, who leads the people, the leader of the people. We don't rule, we lead. So the person that leads the people, Ochibe. So that is an Igbo word right there from you. And that is from Boki, is a our brother Matthew Mbo. So he's one of us. And this I'm sharing for young people who come and hail from all these areas and those who need to know, to be able to be aware of this so that we don't have misunderstandings about ourselves. We have done some reports on Ibanke people, obviously, already, who have their Igbo heritage is unquestionable at all. It's simply unquestionable any longer. Nobody should question any longer. And they're in Edo State. So we need our people who come from Edo State to rejoin us. Those of them who feel go out. And the Godo people who want to join us, fine. If you want to join Yoruba Kingdom or Duduwa, yes, you can do so. People are free. Even if the Ibanke feels that, but we don't want to leave our people. That's the point. We don't want not to fight for our own people. But we have to. It is what we should do. So now if they come up and say, okay, we don't want to stay with Biafra, want to go, of course, it becomes their own decision. But we fundamentally have to fight. I've already told you about the Obong Epenyam of Efik, who says that the Efik migrated from Middle East and how they are ancient Hebrews. They have a lot of ancient Hebrew practices. They carry the Ark of the Covenant called the Usang Abasi. The burial practice similar to ancient Jews, Semitic origin, and it, the ritualistic sacrifice of animals for purification, especially during times of sickness. And then they perform libation. These are some of the examples of Efik culture, which from it you can be able to deduce as to where most likely their origin is coming from. There are also places called Obubra. Obubra is a local government in Cross River State. Obubra has a lot of communities of Igbo origin. There is the Igbo Itigidi, Igbo Asika, Igbo Emobong, and Igbo Ekureko. These are examples. Not just Igbo, then you have the other one from Ado, who is Igbo too, who joined them together to create that. Now, the name Abiriba seems to be derived from the following places named Abi, Abiri, and Iba. Of these three names, only Abi occurs in Cross River State, and it is the group name of 4 villages of Igbo origin or Bobra local government area in the state, in Cross River State. The villages are Igbo Itigidi, Igbo Mobon, Igbo Asika, Igbo Ekure. It's also observed that there are at least 3 other places in the country called Abi, and they are related to Adu, or the places to which its people migrated. So these are some of the links that will show you that the Igbo are into all these clans. It's not all these maps that the British came to begin to draw for us, and then the Nigerians, northern Nigerian military officers also joined in simply carving out the place the way they want. As colonists that they are, we need to reject those things because they are non-authentic. They do not represent history properly. We have history of migrations. I have said it, that there is Igbo is all in Benue, all over the place. There are over 1 million Umweze Koha people, that constitute the Idoma. There's Idoma, Igede, there's this Ado Oju. Opoku and Opi local government areas in Benue State, where our people constitute high majorities of people that are there. It's just they are just our people, period. And we also let you know how the Gede fought to belong to the Southeast region in as far back as 1922, when the Governor General drew the borderline in the north for the eastern Nigeria. You know, when we were drawing, I think it's a borderline for the southern Nigeria, because south and north. You know, so it covered them up because it was 1946 that the Richards Constitution did what it did. Created the regions, basically. But this is the south and north, during the south and north. The Gede people fought from 1922 to 1929 to join the southern part of Nigeria. They joined that people, and it was denied them by the then Governor General, who enacted the 1922 Constitution. And is imagine, how does a foreigner come to a place and begin to enact the Constitution himself without the consultation of people there? That is why when you do things like that are simply illegitimate and improper, will be problems all along until eventually that thing collapses. Which is why we are telling you that Nigeria will not endure. It will collapse on its own because the foundation is so faulty. Idoma was an Ado group that left Ife following the leadership crisis in Ife. And this was something that was said by Enuma. Let me introduce his B.O.N. Enuma. And his book, Adonidu, History of Igbo Region. Enuma, eventually, when he wrote this book, he did it with Honorable D.C. Osadebe, Chief Dennis Osadebe, who happened to be the former premier of Midwestern Nigeria. And then Dennis Osadebe was also the secretary of the Igbo State Union. And this was published in 1947. That's when his publication was. So we're into digging our information from historical documents. This is when there was not too much of tribalism, by the way, in Nigeria. It wasn't seen or known as much as it is today. So most things will not be written simply as propaganda. You know, this was written as a source of well-researched information, you know, and they went to a lot of these places themselves to gather this information. So, and his book was assented to, endorsed by Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, and of course by Osadebe, and people like Reverend Dr. B.C. Nwankiti, Anglican Bishop of Owerri, you know, and Stephen Azubike Oguji, University, Imo State University. Later on came to Imo State University because Imo State University wasn't existing then. So let me give you an account of his background. B.O.N. Eluwa. Bierem Omuka Mamo Eluwa. He lived from 1919 to 2002 of Umuabali, Umuapara, Umuahia, South Government area of Abia State. Was among the first generation of Igbo and Nigerian statesmen. He was among the pioneer members of the first pan-Igbo organization, Igbo Federal Union, later known as Igbo State Union, where he had a meteoric rise in its leadership. He served first as the honorary secretary and later as full-time organizing secretaries of the Union of All between 1944 and 1954. A period which saw an unprecedented and yet unequaled commitment to Igbo causes. Besides many other civil and public engagements in his lifetime, Eluwa had a nature given to research in human and society development issues, as evidenced by this over half a century research work, Adonidu, History of Igbo Origin, and many other publications. So this is a little bit of history of Eluwa himself, from whom will bring these information to you. I've already in mentioning some of these links between our people who have been divided up because of British politics and Nigerian politics coming together. I already told you that Akwa was the name of Duke Town, which formed the nucleus of where Calabar, today's Calabar, city of Calabar, was formed, and how they are Igbo. And he mentioned also Ikotiche, which was a part of Calabar that comes from Nri in Anambra State, that we know that migrants, because Igbo people are migrating everywhere, definitely. And I told you that Ibeko people settled in Duke Town in Calabar. There is Okrika. Okrika, it also means white ant in Igbo. Okrika. They come from Ahia Zumbise. We have to know that. There is also Ogoni people. The Igbo absorbed some semi-Bantu people to form the Ogoni people. And Igbo-related people of Ogoni were completely absorbed. Traces of the Igbo language are still noticeable in Ogoni language. An example of this is the use of Nwi, NWI, in some Ogoni personal names, such as Nwikina and Nwipo. You know, the Ogoni Nwi is believed to be a variation of the Igbo Nwa. Nwa this, Nwa that. See, the son of this or child of, someone. Because both words have identical meaning in Ogoni and Igbo language. That's why it says Nwiwa. You see? It says, when he says Saro Wiwa, that's Wiwa is Nwiwa. So this is some of the indications of relationship between us and them. You know, and this is how the Igbo is also related to the Igala people, and also related to as far as Arago. Igala people are also part of Igbo people, and we cannot just keep quiet any longer, because this keeping quiet is confusing the younger generation and is making them not understand who they are. And what happens is that Nigeria is taking advantage of that. So to use them against their people, to fight them, because all these people fought against Biafra during the Biafran War, as a lot of them, I would say, you know, how they stood against them. Not that they just fought, but they didn't have sympathies for Biafra, you know. And we're going to do that, and also publish certain things that are very important regarding even Igbo diaspora and slavery. Those of them in the United States and even Britain in particular. When we get to those information, we broadcast it so that they can know. The United States, African Americans, United States, this is a quarter of African Americans are Igbo from DNA done by Dr. Kittles, who's a DNA expert of the African ancestry in America here. He's just the most prominent of companies that are dealing with genetics, you know, in the world. And because it's people of African origin are the people who mostly are in search of their origins, because they didn't know they came as slaves, and their heritage, their histories were cut off from them. So Dr. Kittles and Gina Page are people who are, Dr. Kittles is the geneticist. From his own mouth, he said, in African American genealogical findings, that at least 60% of them have Igbo ancestry. At least 60%. Is that Igbo ancestry, father or mother? You see that? So, but we know that haplogroup Y, which is the male genealogical lineage, that the Igbo would consider at least a quarter of African American community. We have people like Gwendolyn Midlo Hall, you know, who has a book on slavery and African ethnicities in the Americas. He does this book, Professor Gwendolyn Midlo Hall. He wrote about it, talked about Igbo people being majority of people who were transported to the Caribbeans and Americans, definitely. That is, and North America. That's where the Igbo went. So these information are good to find out. Most of them are doing their DNA. They're finding, they're coming back even to Igbo land. They're visiting Igbo land. Now I want to speak about Boni as well. Because we hear about Boni, and then Boni people will not deny. Well, no, I don't think I'm Igbo. It's enough of that denial. The time has come to fear not no more. Do not fear. Because I tell you, the God of Israel will free you from that bondage. Free all of us from bondage of Egypt in Nigeria, definitely. There's Boni integration with Ijo, Allah Ibanye, Allah Ibani, because they call it, there's one they call it Abani Yejika, but Abanye is Abani, or some call it Ibani. And then, this is a transmogrification of words, the transformation of words, linguistic transformations that occur over time. And they occur because sometimes there is foreign language, trying to pronounce those words, and because they're foreign translators trying to pronounce those words, the words change how they are called. Boni is Ubani, actually. Allah Ubani. So because the white man couldn't call Ubani, he says Bani. You see that? That's how you had that Boni. It becomes Bani. So, but Bani is also Allah Ibani. You see? And these people come from Ndoki. Ndoki and Boni historically had one king, an alliance of security. They worship same God. Ndoki produced Boni by migration around 14th and 15th centuries AD. So for those who say, oh, well, these are intermingling of it, but mainly Igbo, but Igbo and Ijo, that creates that the slight changes in language that you see that is not exactly representative of probably the way the dialects in other areas of Igbo land. So let us listen to this. It says that it is said that by the end of 17th century, the village of Boni consisted of about 300 houses. Being far from home, the Igbo people of Boni had perforce to intermarry with their Ijo-speaking neighbors, some of whom also migrated to join them. But because children often learned the language of their mothers, and because some of the inhabitants and all the neighboring tribes were both Ijo and Igbo speaking, the Ijo language and names became mixed with those of their Igbo counterparts in Boni till this day. Despite these sociological conditions, Boni remained Igbo speaking, and not very long afterwards, she became the greatest slave port of West Africa and flooded her territory with Igbo slaves. So many were the slaves in Boni that in 1948, the estimated population of the town was 5,000, of whom only a small proportion was descended from the original inhabitants. Thus, as a result of the heavy influx of slaves, mostly Igbos, the Igbo language, which had already begun to give way to Ijo, was strengthened. So we can see how slavery affected that. And that's why we condemn slavery in all its entirety. And we condemn the spiritual practice of our people in the past. It was wrong. All these idols which were set up in places, it is time to leave them. And we have said here in Radio Biafra International, go and read Deuteronomy 18:10 to 13. That's where you have your answer. Deuteronomy 18:10 to 13, including the issue of ancestral worship. This is a spiritual practice that is an error of what the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob has told us to do. We must revert back to what he has asked us to do so he can set us free. What is holding us is spiritual. We are not under the oppression of our enemies simply by accident. Don't believe such offer or opinion. It is wrong. It is spiritual. So, but when we obey the God of Israel, when we study the scripture, because the scriptures are talking about us, it is about our history. I've told you about ethnic people who claim, told those who, this is their own traditional, their paramount traditional, saying that they come from the Middle East. And you saw their practices, which are Hebraic in nature. you can tell that Efik people are from the Middle East. They are the same brothers, and the Efik came from the Ibibio of all people. And you know the relationship of Ibibio and Igbo people. That we are one blood in everything. So the Efik people are telling me where they come from. So how much? You said the Igbo version, you had to talk about the Igbo version, the Ibibio version, and the Efik. That is why we claim that we know that all this place is Biafra. We're even going further. We can go further into Cameroon, where you call the Ambazonia region today. You know, the area you have Bamenda and the Manfe people, you know, and the Kenyan people and all kinds of people there. You have the people that are called the Babungo, you know, Babungo people, the Bamun people. We have the same DNA with them, the same DNA. Even though they are a cluster of very, you know, they are fewer in number. Let's say like 15,000 of them. The Bamun probably 25,000, but the same DNA with Igbo. So we have links with people who are there, even in Amazonia. You know, these are our people. So drawing borders on maps by foreigners somewhere else should not be what will now divide us, that we don't know ourselves. So I go further to read about Boni as well. And he says here, the kings of Boni, beginning immediately after the founder of the first king of the town, Abanye, you know, are said to be as follows. Oparandole. You see, that's an Igbo. That's the first king of Boni. Oparandole. Is that not an Igbo name? Oparandole. Opuama Kubo. You know, language is changed over time. And some of them I can't even be able to interpret. But there is Opara Oshimini. Is the next king, and then Oshimini, next king. Oshimini, that is Oshimili, that is water, isn't it? Yeah. Edimini, Kamalo, and anyway, these are kings of Borneo, Igbo names. Opudapa, then he came to Opudapa, Amakri, kings of Borneo, Apinya, Wari, Perikule, afterwards known as King Pepo, Abwea, Fubra and Opubo, sons of Perikule. Perei Bibo, William Dapa, and George. You know, I remember Dapa Berie, who's a very prominent man, a John man. So we can see where, so between the reign of Wari and Perikule, there were 4 princes of blood royal who also reigned as kings, namely Halide Owusu, Ibani, Bupo, and Ipo. So you see, if each of these rulers were in authority for one generation, it can then be seen that it took more than a century before Ijaw cultural influence became a significant factor in Boni. These names also point to the fact that if Boni were not Igbo, the names of our kings would not have been Igbo, certainly not from the very beginning. So we can see these are certain historical factors that supports what we are saying, that our people need to be together. They need to understand their identity. And it is identity that is being fought. And let me tell you something. What Nigeria, the forces you see that are fighting from the British to the Arab world to the northern Nigerians, Islamic forces in northern Nigeria, are fighting is not you as by a person. Understand that. It is your belief. It is your origin. Your biblical connection. That is what they're fighting. That's why that forces, because they are motivated by evil forces. The evil forces are fighting the light where there is good. You see that? So because it is the kingdom of the devil versus the kingdom of God. That's what's going on this earth. But God has given you the power to expand the kingdom of God. If you agree with him, if you come to God's kingdom and you join, you can then be successfully and victoriously, because the victory is given to you by Yeshua HaMashiach. You can be able to fight this battle and win it. But if not, what forces are you going to use? The one that you are deceived to be your ancestors? Ancestral worship, like I told you, go to Deuteronomy 18:10-13, is completely a violation of God's covenant with the children of Israel. And that is the reason why we suffer. That's why the reason Israel has suffered too long. So it's not now to come back to the actual first. We don't worship a whistle. Those are idols. Go back to the reality of the worship of one true God, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I believe that everybody has the access to their Bible, the most powerful, the most sold book on earth. If you can't study what is in there and find out why it is actually the most sold book of it, it's not just the words that are literally written there, it is the power that is associated to it. That is what is shaking up people's lives and the world generally. Those who ignore it when they are young, if they live long enough, most of them will come back to get it and study it. Because that way you can imbibe the light. You can accept the light, and darkness will be driven away. You will see things properly the way you're supposed to see them, not see them in a skewed fashion. We were lied to, and our fathers were lied to when they worshipped gods of sticks and stones, gods which neither they nor their fathers knew. That was the curse that was laid on Israel if they didn't keep God's commandment, if they didn't keep his laws. And it happened because they didn't keep it. If you read the book of Kings, you see how people like Ahab worshipped idols, married Jezebel, a terrible woman, demonic woman from the king of, I think it's Tyre and Sidon. That's where he went and got this woman, Jezebel. We all know about the infamous name of the Queen Jezebel in Israel, and how she connived to kill Naboth, put a false allegation on him and killed him because of Ahab's greed for land. Just look at that. That's what the devil does to you. Puts greed into you for land, just land, somebody's land, your neighbor. Can't you take another, you are the king, you take another land somewhere? You want this particular one. And it didn't work. You went and married a woman. That shows us something about marriage too. Once you get to marry people who don't fear God, you're finished. Because if you need to fear God to yourself, because if you don't, you're finished anyways. Simple as that. You'll be subjected to devil's tricks. There's just, oh, this is this. Like they talk about the world. Oh, this is this. This is that. They're giving you options of what you think is the best in life, rather than God. That is where you get finished. Mark my words today. You will be finished. I told somebody, I was discussing with somebody yesterday, and I told him, you know why Islam is gaining grounds in Europe today? Huh? He said, no. I gave him my own peace of mind of what I thought about it. How can Islam be, and this is Europe. This is where Christianity has advanced and gone into over time. Gone into and gained ground over years. But all of a sudden, you've seen Islam coming in. What is wrong? You see that? And you know why? Because all these parliamentarians, you see, MPs and prime ministers and so on, they went to preppy schools, they went to good schools, they studied political, social ideology, history, and all the rest of them. They are smart people. But if they didn't read, there's one book I'm sure they didn't study, which is the Bible. Because if they had studied the Bible, it would have made them understand the proper differences between belief in the faith, Christian faith, and Islam. But because they couldn't see the difference. They were blinded. They said, oh, it's the same thing, it's all religion, freedom of religion. In Biafra, there will be no Islam because it's not a religion. I'm telling you that. That thing is not a religion. We throw it out of the window completely. How can you bring something that you know is clearly evil and you want to give it a constitutional backing? Are you crazy? So some countries have done that already. Angola, they don't admit them. I think Australia has done something like that. So it cannot happen in Biafra by God's grace. We will pray a nation. But how can it happen if our people don't understand what they're fighting and what is fighting them? You tell them, okay, read and study the Quran. They don't do so. Go and study. Okay, Google is on your phone right there. Google Sharia law. They won't have the time to do it. Why? We are more interested in social distractions. social entertainment. People who are more interested in entertainment than what concerns their very life and their survival. I'm telling you, that is stupidity and foolishness. It's not name calling. That's what it is. We need to pay attention to what it is. That's why we should listen to sources that educate us and tell us who we are. Mazi Chuks, if you have a commentary, please, I would like you to add a thing or two to this, because our people seem to be a little bit distracted. That's why they are not fired up when you're talking about Biafra. When they meet the people who are fired up about it, they think, oh, whether these people are just being noisy, what are they worried about? Not, you see, that's the attitude of somebody who lacks knowledge on the issue. And the person will not make an attempt to pay attention to those issues. Because it's what you know that motivates you to do certain things with your doing. That's why Radio Biafra does. Mazi Chuks, if I can be connected with you, I would like to hear your contribution. We are not seem to be connecting to Chuks right now.
Hear me?
All right.
Oh, sorry. My visitor.
We're
okay.
To connect with him. Yes.
Okay. We've really done justice to a lot of this news. This thing you've really extensively explained it, extensively expatiated on them, extensively brought it to the understanding of them, how we are one, how we are related. And it's not just based on maths, it's based on research work that was done, not now that tribalism and political correctness has become the major determining factor. But then when there was none like this, and it's really a lesson for everybody. I thank God for the work RBI and BRM is doing. We are really taking our people back to our roots. We are really letting our people to know who our brothers are, and because no matter people will say it's your brother that they show, it's not your friend, and it's good that we're showing our people, our brothers. We don't know who our relations are, because those are the people who must show to our people, and it's a good thing that RBI is leading it, BRM is showcasing it, and then we have our wonderful host who is controlling it and giving out the information, and then we have our panelists. It's a great thing for us here, and has always been. We must also extend hands of fellowship to all these people. Okay, most of the time because they did not know. For them knowing, if they know and reject, it's a different thing for people. But since then, we must tell them. And after that, we must extend hand of fellowship to them and welcome them to the family. Let them know who they are. I actually enjoy Governor Ayede speaking Igbo. You know that he wasn't speaking as a man. He was speaking because he knows it very, very well, and he's speaking as somebody that has a connection to the Igbo people, and it's a great thing. And we actually applaud those. We welcome it in totality. We are very big people, and our people mustn't forget something, that Igbos are in all those places, all those states, all those in Benue. You saw people in Edo, you saw people in Delta, you saw people in Nasarawa, and then they come and say, "Oh, Igbos are just 5 states of the federation." That's what they will make you believe. That's what they've so much into our mentality that most of the time you talk about Igbo, you just talk about the 5 states. And then when you talk, they say, "Oh, who are they? They are very minority." If they are minority, how come Nigeria has refused to put tribes in their census figures? In their census, they will never put the tribe. Why? Because they want to continue to pretend that we are that small. That's why in every other thing they will put state of origin. But once it comes and tribes, but when it comes to census, they will never do it again. Because they want to continue to control our people, make us look so small, make us look as if we are just 5 regions in this thing. And before we know, most of us have already accepted that. Most of us are just people from 5 regions. We are far, far more than that. We are all over those places. And not even about Igbo, all of us on that is we are the same people. We must understand was the divide and rule that they used to manipulate us so much that they will maintain the monolithic North, but here they now tell us about minorities. And not just now about minorities, they now put the domination fever into this minority to make them, oh, this will dominate you. These are people who is dominating everybody together, but they will make you believe this person who has not even gotten anything will dominate you. These are the forces we are fighting. And now BRM heading it is a wonderful thing. It's a great thing to do, and we must keep doing it and doing it and doing it. So at this point, I would like you to know that our brother, Barrister Nnamdi Chukwuma, is with Nwachukwu is with us. So it will be good. Yes, it will be good officially to for the first time to listen to our people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We would like to hear from Mazi Nwachukwu. If he's there, if he is, we can hear him. We'll let him to speak up so that our people can hear him. Mazi Nwachukwu. Is he there? Okay, I think he's trying to connect. So we'll try to get in touch with him while we wait for him to be connected so we can hear from him. I would like to add something else again too. This is about the Igala people, which I had spoken of earlier. I want to add that Nri and Igala belong to the Umweri ethnic clan. Umweri ethnic man. One cannot write history of Igala origin without mentioning Nri, nor write a comprehensive history of Nri without mentioning Igala. However, the most likely account is that found in the tradition, which states that Nri and Igala belong to the Umweri ethnic clan because they are the descendants of a common ancestor called Eri. And since Nri was the eldest of the sons of Eri, he inherited the Oke Ofo, the highest primogenital and sacerdotal emblem of authority of the Eri clan, and by the same token, that of the whole descendants of Adona Idu. So consequently, the Ezenri inherited the right to crown all Adona Idu related kings, including the Ata of Eda and Oba of Benin. As we have already pointed out, the Oba had to submit to the primogenital leadership of Nri, which was because, although he was of the Yoruba assimilated Ife origin, his subjects, the Edos, had recognized the primogenital status of Nri since the Ife crisis and during the 300 years before Benin was founded. So they would not accept the sacredness and validity of any king without ritual confirmation of Nri. So we can see that because some of the knowledge we have about the history of our people are not. We had one from the Oni of Ife already as to how Igbo people were there, even though the Obia of Onisha actually confirmed in 2017 that the Igbo were the first settlers of Ife, and they said that it was that Ifa comes from the word Afa, which is said it was a ritual process that was borrowed from the Ado Naidu, which are Igbo people who settled there. Let me go further in this information. When Brother Nwachukwu, if we're able to connect to him, we'll go back to him for him to deliver his speech. Now I'll go further. It says, Eri is said to have 4 sons and 1 daughter by his senior wife, Namak. These sons were Nri, Aguleri, Bariam, and Amanuke, in that order. According to Nri tradition, Eri also had another son called Ida by a later younger wife. Ida, also called Igala or Igara, was the ancestor of several communities called Ida or Igala or Igara. One of them is the well-known Igala kingdom. Its founder, who was also called Ida, is said to have separated from the rest of the Umweri clan during the migration from Ado to the eastern bank of the river Niger. Earlier, a part of Ida migration is believed to have settled at Ida, a place north of Auchi, during the migration. So you can see about that, about the Eda, and how the migration came and the differences. So we see the connection of Eri and the Igala. And because Igala got mixed with people in other cultures, it's no more longer Igbo. They don't have Igbo there. But you have a lot of Igbo names in Igala. And it says even associated with Eri. It can be seen that the founders of Igala land were of Igbo origin. But the Igala community today is ethnically and culturally mixed. The mixture includes some Yoruba Bini cultural content as well as a degree of Hausa Fulani culture, following the conversion of many of its citizens to the Muslim religion. Consequently, many Muslim personal names are now present among the Igala people. You see what the Muslims do? Once they impose themselves on you, they change your names to theirs. That's what happens, because they want everything under you to look like them. That's the same thing. That's the problem of colonization. In colonization, the imposing the superior or dominant ethnicity seems to make the vassals to take to their own culture, and even including their names. Can you imagine that? But much of this development took place within the last 1.5 centuries. Writing about the Igala, Professor Afibo quotes the anthropologist Northcote Thomas as saying that many Igala communities lived up to a full day's journey beyond the accepted northern frontiers of Igbo land, where Igbo speaking by the first decade of the 20th century. That is at about 1910. At about 1910. There's an Igala queen we saw, I think it's in 1850s or so, when the Europeans came. The queen Ebele Gionu is the name. There's one of the name of their ancestors too, that's called Onwuchekwo. So you can see the Igbo names there in Igala already. The title Agaba Idu, which is borne by an Igala traditional ruler, is seen as an evidence of Igala Igbo relatedness. This is because Agaba is the name of a type of Igbo masquerade, and the word Idu is the Igala name for lion, which is called Odum in Igbo. So Igala people also have the 4-day week, which they call Eke, Orio, Afo, and Onku. You see how they call it? They have the 4-day week of the Igbo. The Eke, Orio, Afo, and Onku. After parting from Umweri migration group, the Igala finally settled in the territory south of the Benue River and east of the River Niger. That territory, which measures about 5,000 square miles, had a population of nearly 300,000 in 1952. They can be said to have done a full circle in their journey of migration from Ado to their present home. This is because under the British colonial administration, the territory was made a part of Kaba province. Kaba is today a part of Kwara State. So, so this is a little bit of information about the Igala people, which I wanted to throw in there before we call it a day. So with that, we will be able to have our brother Nwachukwu to speak, since we're not able to connect with him this time around. And the next broadcast, which might come sooner than a week's time. I will say thank you for listening to Radio Biafra International. Much thanks to Chukwueze Kedigwe, who has been my aid contributor in this broadcast. And I thank you all listeners, Biafrans, and others who are listening from other parts of the world. I thank our main anchor, wonderful man, Leo Anemena, an expert in communication and information technology, whom without this would not have been possible in any way, shape, or form. He is the foundation of this Radio Biafra International. And we appreciate his efforts for his love towards God and his people, which is put in this sacrifice, within this sacrifice. And from me, I will say, God bless you and goodbye for now.
Radio Biafra International, empowering the people.
Master 2020. I think champion of Bakola Kungwe no no before you be fair with you. Because when you stay safe, we must have coronavirus money from one. Someone they say about holiday now. What can see just change? I want to know before you be fair with you, baby.
Truer words were never spoken. The less you associate with some people, the more your life will improve. Anytime you tolerate mediocrity in others, it increases your mediocrity. An important attribute in successful people is their impatience with negative thinking and negative acting people. As you grow, your associates will change. Some of your friends will not want you to go on. They will want you to stay where they are. Friends that don't help you climb will want you to crawl. Your friends will stretch your vision or choke your dream. Those that don't increase you will eventually decrease you. Consider this. Never receive counsel from unproductive people. Never discuss your problems with someone incapable of contributing to the solution, because those who never succeed themselves are always first to tell you how. Not everyone has a right to speak into your life. You are certain to get the worst of the bargain when you exchange ideas with the wrong person. Don't follow anyone who's not going anywhere. With some people, you spend an evening. With others, you invest it. Be careful where you stop to inquire for directions along the road of life. Wise is the person who fortifies his life with the right friendships. If you run with wolves, you will learn how to howl. But if you associate with eagles, you will learn how to soar to great heights. A mirror reflects a man's face, but what he is really like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses. The simple but true fact of life is that you become like those with whom you closely associate, for the good and the bad. Note, be not mistaken. This is applicable to family as well as friends. Yes, do love, appreciate, and be thankful for your family, for they will always be your family, no matter what. Just know that they are human first, and though they are family to you, they may be a friend to someone else and will fit somewhere in the criteria above. In prosperity, our friends know us. In adversity, we know our friends. Never make someone a priority when you are only an option for them. If you are going to achieve excellence in big things, you develop the habit in little matters. Excellence is not an exception, it is a prevailing attitude.
Radio Biafra is proud to launch its new mobile app. This app makes it easier for listeners to access live and repeat broadcasts at any given time. The app is available on Android and Apple stores and is free to install, so just search for Radio Biafra into all one word to get the app on your device.
Radio Biafra International broadcasts are always anchored on well-researched information and not based on personalities, frivolities, and foul languages. The main objective of Radio Biafra International is to empower Biafrans and give them knowledge through professionally delivered information, education, and enlightenment towards the ultimate goal of restoration of the nation of Biafra.
So don't forget, Radio Biafra into all one word.
And join us during our podcasts, and you'll be glad you did.
Radio Biafra International, empowering the people.